The following presentation of the Eric McKenna Project is sponsored by no one.
Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.
Friends, thanks. Appreciate you doing this.
Of course. Beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is an interesting group. When I put the panels together, I sometimes sit and think, okay, how am I going to structure this? I got 4 dynamic personalities. One I know rather well, someone I just met, him.
Everyone will forget.
So, again, thanks again. This is long form conversation, and I think we're going to have an absolute blast. Before we start, well, actually, let's start. I have a question. Are we allowed anymore in this society? Are we permitted to dislike anybody? Are we allowed to decide that we don't like somebody for, I don't know, maybe their religion, maybe the color of their hair, maybe the way they eat, maybe for the car they drive, maybe for them being a pretentious asshole, or maybe a guy always coming to work and sitting next to me and smelling bad, maybe their musical tastes. Are we allowed to dislike anybody anymore? The reason I ask the question is it appears to me that we have a lot of younger folks that have somehow adopted the idea that if someone doesn't like them for whatever reason, that's not permitted. That person should be reached out and either accosted or canceled or whatever. But if someone doesn't like moi, that person needs to pay a price because everybody is supposed to like me. We have now somehow conflated, I think, tolerance with being liked. And if I'm all wrong, I'm willing to admit it. But from what I can see right now, it doesn't seem to be socially acceptable to just, quite frankly, dislike somebody. Am I wrong?
Well, whether you're allowed to like someone or not, everyone's going to have a preference, right? It's
You
just
think.
I have a preference. There's a lot of people and things I don't like, based on petty things or rooted in, traditional values I might have. But are we allowed? I guess it depends on the audience if they're going to allow you or not.
You don't think that's insane?
It's absolutely insane. Yes.
I mean, do you feel the same way, Michael? Do you think that there are folks running around right now, and maybe they've always been running around, but maybe we've given them a microphone now on social media or whatever. But
I was just going to say that social media changed the landscape across the board for everything, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So for example, people, they could wear the wrong color shirt, on an Instagram post, or a different slogan that might not be PC, or, really anything. I mean, we're in that day and age where, our identity or our perceived identity, matters more than who we really are. What you're trying to portray of yourself, and I think that a lot of people do worry about, getting canceled or, I'm not going to lie to you. Like when you asked that question right away, I thought, oh boy, I got to watch how I answer this because this could, if I say something wrong, and somebody wants to screen grab it and hold on to it for the next 20 years. And if I ever wanted to run for office or whatever it is, you can, it's very real. It's an unfortunate reality that we have in society right now. I choose not to partake in it.
It's ironic. You thought about censoring yourself as he was asking that question.
Yeah. So that means it's real, in my opinion.
It's absolutely real. Are we allowed? I mean, I'd rather ask forgiveness than permission.
Oh, most definitely. Well, anything great that's ever been created in this world was just done. And if it didn't work right initially or at the beginning, there was always forgiveness sought. But no one ever asked permission to do great stuff.
But when it comes to canceling, if people give their opinion, if they don't apologize, I feel like the cancel culture runs out of gas and they just go away. Do you find that to be true? Like if someone doesn't bow down and say, I'm sorry that I made you feel that way.
So the first time I saw that happen on a big scale was Rogan, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And I know it's convenient to talk about Rogan, Fred, but I mean, that's the first one that I think didn't have to go on the apology tour or didn't have to bow down to the steps of, whatever socially aggrieved group of people it was. He basically said, you can't cancel me. I apologize for offending anybody. It was a long time ago, but I'm a comedian. So fuck you if you don't like it. I'm a comedian, but he basically stood up to it. Now there's been plenty more, and I think the tide might be changing. I'm more interested in finding out how the tide started, because it must have happened when I wasn't paying attention. I used to like comedy, and I woke up one day and everybody is uber sensitive and worried about people not liking them, and they're crying on social media and crying politically that things aren't the way they want it, and they want to reach out and hurt people who don't like them. It isn't even about issues. It's deeper than that. I think they feel personally aggrieved when they're not liked. It isn't even accepted. They're not liked. And I think that parents, my generation maybe, have we taught kids that they have an entitlement to be liked, to actually be liked? I mean, not to be tolerated, but to be liked. And if they're not liked, then something's effing wrong. Deep, huh?
I like it. It's a good point. When did the tide start?
So I was actually ironically watching a movie last night on Netflix, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was definitely not in my generation. So basically, there was a girl that went into a coma. She was, I want to say 37, 20-year coma. So she, so what would that have been? That would have been like the early 2000s, right? So like 2002. So she ends up waking up 20 years later and decided to go back to school. It was right before prom week when she went into this coma. And I was floored at, they were basically, I don't know if they're making fun of society to where it is now.
Okay.
But basically, she went back to high school, and the mindset of the school was, we're not going to have a prom queen. We're not going to have a cheer captain. We're not going to do these things because we don't want to offend anybody. Everyone's going to be equal, the whole equality thing, which, at the end of the day, I truly do think that there's an element of society that just wants to be angry and feel like they're that somebody else is responsible for their circumstances or their genuine unhappiness. And I don't think that that's right. I don't align with that. I'm very much so of the mindset that, look, everybody's circumstances might be different, but you're not bound to your circumstances. It's up to you, what type of life you want to live. It's not my neighbor's fault, that I almost failed out my freshman year in college. It's my fault, and I had to make the decisions necessary to escape that, so yeah, it was ironic though, to say the least, that was.
So is it more like a victim mentality?
It is.
Oh, yeah.
You've been quiet over there.
Yeah, I've been taking it in. You know my views on these things.
Oh,
We don't.
What's your views?
Man,
I want to hear them again.
this all started when they took the damn 10 Commandments off the courthouses because someone got offended. And then they said, we can do that. We can do anything. And now you've got people sitting there crying, I don't like this. I don't like that. And gradually it's gone from, I guess it's probably gone over 2 generations now. Now the kids, like you said, everybody's going to like you. Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody's a winner. Everybody's this. And when you're not, you can cry. And if you cry loud enough on social media, you can cancel someone. You can ruin somebody's career with just a word. And it's so easy to do it now. It's so easy to go online and say something and ruin somebody's career because half the time most people don't check. They just go with what everybody else sees or whatever everybody else wants. And the next thing you know, you're trashed, and it's really weird because, again, you have the comedians. Do you know who wouldn't be a great comedian, at this day and age? George Carlin.
No.
Richard Pryor. No. And, that's before you guys' time. But, I mean, these guys were great, funny guys. and they talked about a lot of stuff that's would make people a little bit oversensitive today. Eddie Murphy back in the day was
a little bit oversensitive.
My God, they would be gone. And even if you look 20 years ago at the Chappelle Show or whatever, my God, you know, it was he was breaking down all kinds. But even in that short amount of time, what is it, 15 years since the Chappelle Show or whatever?
Goodness, even 10 years ago, Kevin Hart.
Yeah, Kevin.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
right now, they'd be canceled. And I'm surprised, you know, that they haven't gone back and really dug into some of this stuff. But
Well, it's
these
very
guys are legends.
it's very selective, though. I mean, like it's you know, one comedian gets canceled, a younger comedian gets canceled like this, right? But because for whatever reason, you take someone like Eddie Murphy who said some absolutely horrid things in today's acceptability, they were funny as shit.
They're funny back
I
then.
thought they were funny.
Yeah. The
But
metric's different now.
The metric's a
We
lot
knew how to
different.
laugh at ourselves.
That's
back
funny
then,
you
too.
said that.
Yeah.
The metric is different. Well put.
Yeah. Which
There's
sucks
there's
because
a reason why we had her on this show.
yeah, comedy suffers. I think right now the only comedian that I listen to is Andrew Schultz, and he's the one that kind of pushes it back.
Mm-hmm.
He'll do the crowd work, and he'll maybe make fun of a certain, you know, group of people to their face, and everyone's cracking up. Whereas if it's like out of context, he could be like teetering that line of getting canceled.
About, oh man, it must have been 8 years ago, 2014. Fred and I welcomed into Boogie Street, just our guitar office, a comedian friend of Fred's, Craig Gass, national comedian, and he came in to Pittsburgh and was doing some shows, and we went to see him that evening. Mike Bell went. It was a really good time. And I had not been to a comedian show for a long time, comedy show, and Gas pushed it. But this is 2014. And social media was around, but not like today. And I have to say, Gas still may do the same material, but it's not going to land the same today that it landed in 14. I just can't imagine. I'm thinking of a couple of jokes now, especially the ones he ended with, not thinking that's going to work today. And that is just horrifying to me. Like, who decided what I'm allowed to laugh about and what I don't find funny? Like,
Yeah.
you know, who decided that?
Even think of like Eminem, what he was putting out, like his
yeah.
music. It's wild, like Killing Kim. And that was on the radio.
Yeah, we can go there.
But I mean, it was art. It was a different medium, but people, they take it literally.
Yes, they do.
And I mean, life isn't perfect. It's beautiful in its imperfections, and you have to deal with it.
Well, that's
It's reality.
I think you're absolutely right, and that's the broader viewpoint. But what about just looking at comedy? Like, it used to be, I think, you would go to a comedy show because you want your sensibilities to be smacked in the face.
Yeah.
Some people say offended. I don't use that word. But if my sensibilities aren't rubbed in kind of like some sandpaper, you know, it wasn't funny to me. But everybody's different. I mean, you know, you can say Carlin now. You can say, I mean, on the softer side, like Louis Anderson, right? Louis Anderson, was Louis Anderson the big guy? Yeah, like there's a portion of our society looking to dig into anything to find some kind of fault in it to try to reach out and hurt somebody. Is that out of boredom?
Yeah.
Is it out of bad parenting maybe or different kind of parenting? What the hell's going on?
Virtue signaling, it's a lot. They're not busy. I'm too busy to go on the internet and trash talk everybody I disagree with.
Exactly. And some of these people that, again, trolls in their parents' basement.
Yeah.
You know, because now they have a
with a liquor
platform.
bottle.
Now they have a platform where they can attack someone of status, someone of stature, someone of no
Access.
and it makes them feel big. You know what I mean? I love going on like a website like Blabbermouth and watching what these guys say about rock and roll bands, and it's just like, you know, you guys have never even come close to being there. You have no clue of what this person or how it is. You know, it's stupid. But these people have a platform to sit and make comments, negative comments on somebody they don't even know, and it makes them feel good. because somebody notices them because they fight back, and you get these little comment wars or whatever. But it's somebody saying something, but they're anonymous. You know what I mean?
It's what's that called? Blabbermouth?
Blabbermouth, yeah.
What exactly is that?
It's a website like with rock and roll bands.
Okay.
And they say, okay, this band's putting out a record, and somebody will say something negative about it. And
of course, you can't say anything positive.
Yeah, of course you can't. Yeah. But it always seems like they do it just to get somebody to argue back with them. You know what I mean? And so that's what it is. I mean, these people, if they find something offensive, they say something just to get a reaction, just to get noticed or whatever. But
is it a power thing? Like,
I
because
think
the internet
it's
now,
an attention seeking.
So the internet
Yeah.
gave everybody a voice. I used to have a very wise guy I used to know. He used to say the great thing about the internet is it gave everybody a voice. It leveled the playing field. And I go, huh? And he said the worst thing about the internet is it gave everybody a voice and it leveled the playing field. And he was right.
Did you see that Mike Tyson video?
Which one?
It's on the airplane.
I did.
So there was I don't know if he actually said it. There was a lot of like tweets that were like fake tweets that were going out with him. And one of them said, the internet and social media gave everybody, or people tend to forget, or how did it go?
People got too comfortable with disrespecting.
Yes, without getting punched in the face.
Yeah, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Right. They made them feel comfortable with insulting somebody behind a screen.
Mm-hmm.
And now here's some, punk kid that's
100%.
thinks that it's okay to disrespect somebody.
Which is insane. Who
And then
goes
he gets
after
his ass
Mike
beat.
Tyson? Like, what?
That's the mentality of society right now, though.
Exactly.
And there's an element of society that said, what, that's fucked up that Mike Tyson hit this kid. It's like, what's he supposed to? How long of a leash are we supposed to give people like that?
Yeah, everybody has different standards, and I get all that too. But you're so right, and in reality too, it's like, it's too easy to say that there was a group of parents out there 20 years ago that raised soft kids and gave them the idea that they need to be entitled to the degree that everybody must like them. That's too easy, because I think that you can look at people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s that have discovered the internet, and they're out there being egreged as well. Mm-hmm. I think and it isn't everybody, but it's a portion of our society that really is out there expecting to be not even just accepted. If it was just being accepted, that'd be wonderful. No, they have to be agreed with, and they have to be liked for their beliefs, and liked for their clothes, and liked for their purchase choices. And that's just not how society works. And I'm hoping that that's not what's coming up in generations behind us, because that's a terrible way to enter adulthood with those expectations, because it ain't going to go well.
No.
Well, I did that. I got called to my old university and asked me to be a guest speaker. And there's me, old. There's the professor who's a generation younger than me. And here's all these kids that are, a generation younger than him.
That means you're really old.
I am really old.
Jeez.
And
Jesus Christ, Fred.
I went as a guest
speaker.
speaker.
Man, we're the same age.
I went as a guest speaker. And he told me straight up, he goes, these kids, and this is somebody younger than me telling me, he goes, these kids, they just want everything handed to them. They don't want to do the work. They think that they're going to walk out in society and they're going to get a $100,000 a year job instantly. And he looked
but
at me.
do they really? That's painting with such a broad cloth.
Oh,
right?
no, man.
They do.
They do. They think that they're going to go out there and they want somebody to hand them a job, and they're not going to work for $15 an hour, and they want to go out and nobody wants to put in the work anymore for anything.
Yeah.
And it goes along the line of what's, being liked and not being liked. You go to a workplace and you can see, and I hate to say it like this, you can see the guys that have been there putting in the work, and you can see the younger just coasting through, man, expecting somebody else to pick up the slack, because they shouldn't have to do this. Nobody wants to put in the work anymore. Mm-hmm. And again, if you get on somebody at a workplace about working, then HR's called because, hey, man, he's picking on me.
Well, what about you with hiring hiring is a tough word in what you're doing, but bringing on younger agents for a team, looking to grow a team of realtors.
That's
right?
exactly what I was thinking about as he was saying it.
I don't want to put you in a tough spot either, because you are doing exactly that. So I don't want you to be.
Oh,
be put in a
I'll
position
tell
where,
them.
Okay, well, I just don't want to feel like you're being put in a spot right now that could affect when you step out of here tonight.
No, absolutely not. The younger agents, I tell them. I only have a few. Like I have one or two that I mentor that are young. I'm talking about like early 20s.
Right.
And they're entering into the real estate market. And it's super trendy. It's super, sexy to be a real estate agent right now because what does that mean? Keep going? Yeah. I don't know production hand signs.
Hey, he's just adjusting the lights.
Okay. So it's really trendy to be a real estate agent right now. And they think as soon as they get their license, they can walk out and sell $1 million property. You can't do that. When I started 10 years ago, I would say that we're the same generation. Our generation was still lax, still a little bit entitled. It was before the super entitlement era that we're in now. But I knew all I had to do was work a little bit harder than my peers, and I would make it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I had the advantage because I was willing to work. And for me, willing to work was, doing rentals, the non-high paying job, the non-cool thing to do. But I wanted to make money, and that's what I had to do to get my foot in the door. And because that was a grind. It wasn't fun. Like I could go into detail on what I had to do, but in return, I got an education. I made clients. I made a clientele that I still have to this day that were new investors that needed help just renting out of space. And then they grew with me. Oh, I'm ready to buy my next place. Can you help me, purchase it? Right. Oh, now I'm, refining and now I'm buying a bigger multi. Oh, can you help my so-and-so buy their first home? It grew. And the problem today is that people want everything instantly. They don't understand that it has to be cultivated. They don't understand that it doesn't come instantaneously. That's what I'm seeing from the younger ones. And sometimes I don't know if they're envious of where I'm at, but I say like you can't compare yourself to me. I'm 10 years in. You might be 10 minutes in.
But isn't it fascinating? You have to explain that to somebody. Like, I mean, I think that's a direct result of Instagram and some of the websites where they're comparing what they have and what they believe someone else has based upon what that person is telling them.
Yeah.
So that's that envy thing.
I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, that envy thing is, and I can almost give them, to some degree, I can almost give them a buy on that because they're basically victims of the social media and the way it's manipulating their brain.
Yeah.
It doesn't help the scenario, who you blame, but ultimately the envy thing, I think, is they can't help that because that's just the way that they operate now, what they see. I mean, you'd like to think they can think for themselves. People that do get envious in that regard, but you're right. There is something out there now which is stopping some folks from understanding the journey between point A and point B. There's point A, that's where I'm standing, but I'm going to get to point B like next week, and there's a disconnect.
So how was it when you were growing up?
Much different. I'm not saying better or worse. I'm not the old guy saying things should be different, but it was because we didn't have this much technology, society was slower. My parents said their childhood was slower than mine, right? I think it's just now, but I think now it's exponentially faster because of the way technology is. We, first off, I grew up humbly in a small mill town. It was the 70s and the early 80s. Times were really not that great. So getting a $2 an hour job as an 18-year-old, I was damn happy to have that. And if the guy told me to make like 100 pieces in 20 minutes and take out the garbage 10 times a night, I would do it. I would do it because now again, everybody's circumstance is different. There's millions and millions of wonderful parents out there today instilling the work ethic. What the work ethic means, though, in this today to a young person as to what it meant in the 70s or in the 80s to a young person is probably worlds different.
Yeah.
And probably no one's at fault for that. It's just I think the societies were in there. Now, Fred's going to disagree with me, but I'm not trying to give anybody a pass. I just think it was slower. to answer your point more directly, I think the opportunities were less. There wasn't as much creativity in society. People starting startups all the time and new industries. And I mean, I graduated in 83. I mean, the steel industry was pretty much done. Maybe I could get a job as a laborer in a steel fabricating plant, maybe something like that. Or I could look for an office cleaning job while I finished college. Or I could go work like in a fencing yard, shipping out fencing on a truck. But if I didn't look, I had no internet to go look for jobs. It was totally different. You really were kind of handcuffed. Compared to today, you were really handcuffed. So, but it was slow. I mean, am I right? It was just slower. Like things moved slower. I don't think our brains were being inundated. And honestly, the sphere of people that you would encounter in your daily activity didn't give you enough of a reference to become jealous of anybody, because I didn't have a vehicle that could show me what other mid-50s people are doing, thousands of them every day for me to compare myself to.
Yep.
Yeah.
You knew your town. Not very many people got away and got out and got away from their hometown. And that was your status. You know what I mean?
100%.
I mean, you're right there. We live in a place or in a time right now where everything's instant gratification. If you want it, you can get it. You can call Amazon and have it delivered tomorrow. We didn't have that back then. Remember, if you waited for something, if you sent away for something, you
4 to 6 weeks
for
shipping.
for shipping and handling. And
That was everything.
And that was everything across the board. And the other thing you did, you went outside and played. You didn't sit around and worry about what other people were doing on the net. You didn't, like you said, you didn't have these influencers who were all full of shit anyway. But
I can't argue. I can't argue.
Bottom line,
argue with you.
But people compare themselves to unrealistic things. All right, like the Kardashians. I've never watched that show ever. But how are these people anybody's influence?
But to be honest with you, our generation had movie stars. We had music.
Like
we had that
media,
stuff too through traditional media.
We do have
we
that,
didn't have. We had a smaller amount of it, and I don't think. I'll be very honest with you. I don't think that our music heroes or our movie heroes or our television heroes made it a point to throw their wealth in our face all the time.
That's exactly
The hip hop culture, and I want to pick on the hip hop culture now, and because again, I don't know anything about hip hop, but let's just be honest now. Pop music and hip hop, metal and country to a lesser extent, they'll throw the big Rolex watches in your face and their Bentleys and their wheels and they'll throw the illusion of a mansion here, like you're flying in a plane or whatever. That stuff was kind of like you'd see a guy stepping onto a plane in a Ralph Lauren commercial on a page of Time magazine. You wouldn't see it thrust into a 19-year-old's conscience.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a different animal now.
Well, now they want you to see how good they did, how good they're doing. The ones that are doing good keep it quiet. You know what I mean?
But we're a boastful society now,
well, that's
right?
exactly it.
Yeah,
the whole.
It's a look at me society.
Yeah. Look at me. Look what I can do. Look at me. I've got 1 million followers. Look at me. I've got 2 million followers.
I think it's cool that you both can recognize that, though. It's easy for him and I to recognize that because our point of reference our point of reference is different.
Yeah.
But for you to be younger and for you to see that that's kind of like not probably too swift. That we're really a look at me boastful society as a whole.
Oh, I mean, we're probably the last generation that grew up without the internet, but then it became a part of our lives.
Right. I think we had MySpace, but I mean, like Facebook.
I'm saying, like when we were younger, like we went outside and played.
Oh yeah, no.
When we were younger, I didn't have a cell phone when I was 12. I was outside.
Yeah. Right, and even the cell phones that we had, it's like
I had my first cell phone was 14.
A Nokia phone with Snake.
Yeah, I had a red Sprint phone with it had a camera on the front, but.
You weren't glued to your phone.
Not when I was 10. You know what I was...
Even as a baby. Jeez.
I didn't know what other 10-year-olds were doing unless I watched them on Disney Channel. You know what I mean?
Did you know... So you didn't know your friends as a grade schooler. You had no real connection to friends unless your parents constructed I hate to say it like this, a play date. Or,
Whatever.
I mean, or you went over for a specific purpose. A ball game, to watch a movie.
Yeah. It was your neighbors or your parents' friends or your cousins. That's who you played with.
But that was real socialization too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you were with other humans in a room or somewhere doing something. It wasn't like, this is your socialization and there's a screen with 3 other people on it. It's really different now.
Yeah.
And it's not horrifying. It's just really different and not real comfortable for me.
It's horrifying to me because we don't have enough time that has passed that we have data to see what happens
It's coming.
when it's been immersed in your whole life. Like, for instance, like my nephew's generation, he was born a year ago. Like, he knows how to he understands FaceTiming me. Like, he understands that I'm saying hello on a screen, but I'm not there in real life. So how does that affect somebody? Like, when he's 30 years old, what does that do, like, to the way you think or how you socialize? It's
a great point. It's a real, and I don't have an answer for that. Like I have a 21-year-old and a 22-year-old and a 19-year-old, and I got really lucky. I mean, I have to brag about my kids. If they're not in that swamp. Especially my son, he has other interests, which luckily kept him out of the social media swamp. Gwen's in there, but it's not. Yeah, I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But man, I see a lot of crap, and I don't know.
And like, there's more evolution in the technology happening. Like, FaceTime isn't the last, thing. Now we're going to have like holograms, or I'm going to be able to, put on Oculus, and now I can see you.
Have you put one of those on? Have you put one of those on?
I almost fell over. Yeah, I threw my equilibrium off. Have you put it on?
Yeah, I have not. I had a guest on, Dr. Cooper from Duquesne, physical. Theoretical physicist, and he was telling me that his roommate actually went and got the next step up. It's not Oculus. There's some like brand above that's got higher technology and optics. It's very expensive, but this guy got it. And Coop was telling me that it is like unfreaking believable. And you when you're in there that it's going to get even better. Like, you're seeing this, you recognize that it's not quite where it's going, but where it's going, and it's going quickly. It's kind of frightening.
See, to your point, you were talking about the FaceTime. So I FaceTime my nephew now. He's going to be 2 in a couple months. And I think that, you start at that young age and everything is instant, I think, to what you had said. So it's like, okay, I'm going to pick up my phone. As a kid, I want to talk to he calls my mom, Nana. So I want to talk to my Nana. So you FaceTime. And I think that over time, what that does is that you're able to get something right away, to the point that what happens when you're 15, 16, 20, 25, you're not able to you don't appreciate the moment as much. Yeah. Because all along the last 20, 25 years, you were able to just get it like this.
Michael, that's a great point.
When you're not in the 90s, 80s, you had to wait so often to see your grandparents. You couldn't just pick them up.
I didn't think of. You're saying basically the immediacy of the technology
instant
is really kind of altering expectations now for these kids.
Right. And so then whenever you're, I think of my nephew being 20, 25, and he doesn't appreciate the moment as much when he's actually physically with them, because in his mind, I think that, I could always just pick up my phone and I could FaceTime and it's,
see you at any time you want.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the perfect example of that. Well, to me, in my sphere is rock shows, right? At some point in time, 2012, 13, 14, we started seeing this at rock shows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When the video got good enough at 720p, I think with initial iPhone 4s or whatever, you could, in the Google phones, you could start to seeing, and you saw a lot of the artists, especially your legacy artists, like start to lose their fucking minds, because now they were, like, you could see the audience's eyes weren't on them. It was like they were more worried about capturing that video clip to remember it by than they were being in that actual moment. And I remember cognitively at a show in Pittsburgh, 2012, just got out to my seat, and I'm looking around and like, oh my God, no one is really here. They're here, but now it's so bad. Like, it's unbelievable now.
They're literally watching it through their phone.
Yeah.
Because they want to get something. It's all like I get it. They want to have the memento. I'm a photographer. You're a photographer. I get it. We're videoing, taping the show, but it does take away from the experience of actually flipping being there, right?
Yeah. Or they want to show other people that they're there.
Yeah.
Which
But you
Another
can do, but
thing.
you can do that in 30 seconds,
Again,
right?
look
Take
at
your
me.
clip and you're done.
Yeah, that's true.
But they're there like for hours, like the whole time. Like
Whole show.
Boastful culture, see me culture. I'm at a rock show. I'm
I guess-
here. I'm this close.
I guess
Yeah.
that's So okay. So are we all in some kind of competition with each other?
I think on
I
social
don't even mean.
media,
I don't
yeah.
even mean industry. I don't even mean. But I mean the aggregate. Are we all in competition with each other?
I love that question.
I think
And-
so.
Yeah. So I think that we are. But
Well, what's the prize? Because I'm not aware of it.
So,
Attention.
so it depends on who it is too.
Yeah.
You know, for me, like, you know, my friends, you know, like I genuinely, truly want everybody to succeed.
Same.
You know,
Nice, very nice.
And if somebody calls me, you know, because I've been investing for about 6 years, you know, and I've mentored multiple people, and you know, not just around real estate, but also around just, you know, around my job. I'm in medical sales, so
Right.
the transition from
Oh,
B
yeah.
to B to this, you know, and there's a process for everything, right? But people, of course, they want it like this, you know, and so even if you're my friend, you know, I think that being a friend is it's helping them along the way, telling them yes and telling them no, but for the greater good of being a friend, you know. Now there's other people so I won't compete with them, but you know, I've had friends, you know, I've had friends that'll compete with me, you know, and it becomes so toxic to where I don't even speak to them anymore.
Mhm.
Because if I know, I'm a former athlete, so if I know that somebody's actually competing with me, that's going to bring out a side of me that I really don't like.
Mhm.
And I think that it's damaging to a friendship. So I try to, you have to come from a good place when it comes to that. And, you know, I think that people forget that. Now, if there's a complete stranger, you know, and it comes to being competitive, it depends on how it affects my life and my loved ones, you know, and if there's a need for me to be competitive. But look, I compete against myself, you know. I try to get up every single day and compete with who I was or the version of myself yesterday,
Sure.
weeks prior.
Sure.
But everyone else, they feel like, well, because of social media, I have to compete with that person because they're living the lifestyle or portraying that they're living a lifestyle that I want to live. So I have to compete with X, Y, and Z or people that I feel like are in my way of that rather than the person that they're looking right in the mirror.
Yep.
And that's, I think, what's so damaging to culture right now. You know, the people run over anybody.
Well, how would
to get to
a
that
young
point.
person see that? What's puzzling to me is how would a young person even get their arms around that? It's one thing if you're in a field, let's say, you know, a guy hires a young person to sell cars. So now you've got an organization that's selling cars, and there's other salespeople, and there's a competitive nature. A kid can grab that around. Okay, well, I have to work within the framework of this plan, and if I do this, I might be able to climb the ladder there. That makes cognitive sense. But if you're asking a kid to be in competition with essentially everybody based upon like human value, things I own, what I can show, who I can pretend to be, who I'm not, what someone perceives of me, that is so not even disingenuous. That is, I think, just so freaking overwhelming.
And it's
Competition for competition's sake is terrible. Competition with a purpose and a structure can be healthy.
yeah.
It's a lot of pressure because it puts a lot of pressure on
A lot
people.
of pressure
too.
on people.
Yeah.
There's only so many prize jobs. There's only so many prize places, and people will do anything to get there.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing is I never gave a shit. You know what I mean? And I didn't worry about what this guy had or what that guy had,
Yeah.
or if hey man, if you want the job, take it. You know, let me see if you're better than me. You know, whatever. But like you said, I want to see everybody be successpeople. So
Mhm.
anybody that I'm around, I give that to. You don't see that all
Yeah.
the time,
No.
man. You see people not telling you. You know, just people will say horrible things about your work. You can do great work. People say horrible things about your work, and just so they get ahead, or just so they feel, or they try to bring you down to their level. And you just have to be self-confident and know where you're at in the playing field. But right now, like I said earlier, all these kids coming out, they think that they're going to get. Nobody wants to put in the work to get there. They think that they are entitled to
Okay.
go straight up. And then
That's the point I wanted. You nailed it. Now, my question on that is, let's break that down. Is that more symptomatic of social media, or is this more symptomatic of the era that this social media run has been in, meaning jobs are pretty plentiful. They kind of have been pretty plentiful for a long time. The economy had a huge bump, especially in the real estate sector in 7, 8, 9, right? It slowly came back, but the rest of the economy still kind of chugged along. To find a real recession, you have to go back to the early 90s. My point is the fact that there hasn't been a lot of employment struggle in the younger generations, that they don't know what it's like yet. And is that more symptomatic of the expectation, or are you going to put more of the blame on the technology, which is creating this envious circumstance they're in?
I think it's technology, and the reason being is that, so I'm going to give you an example that over COVID, right? There were all these different platforms. So I was guilty of it, and I was trading, options,
Sure.
So doing options trading, right? Instant, the money moves up and down really quick.
That's the lure of option trading.
So now you have Robinhood, you have SoFi, you have all these different apps.
You
right?
didn't bet GameStop, did you?
No, I did. I wish I did.
AMC.
But you had all these mostly younger retail traders, right?
Yeah.
That were buying in, right? And the market just kept going up over the course of the last couple of years. Now they see that now it's not going up. Now they're losing money, and right away they sell. So it's like, you have these people that just kind of like have the, the build while things are going good. To your point, it's like, you had that blip, 7, 8, 9. But what we weren't faced with the recession that we had in the early 90s. Now it's when things go bad, that people have to really evaluate, really where it is that they're at, like in real estate. The last couple of years, or you both, everyone wants to be an agent. Well, now that it's cooled off, things are not bad, but it's slow.
It's normal.
It's slow, right? It's normal than what it's normal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
how
a good
it
word.
is.
Thank God.
But now I'm sure that people are going to reevaluate that, and
Yeah, they're like,
gonna
what do
be
you
on.
mean
They're gonna be on to
I
the
can't
next
list
thing.
a house that's not selling in an hour? What?
I think, it's a great point.
They're just going to keep, and I think that's going to be constant though, because of the way that society is and how quickly people are on to the next thing so quick. They're not willing to really grind it out and do what it takes to actually get to that point. They just want that, like you said, they want that instant gratification. And as soon as it looks like it's not going to get there, they're not willing to do what it takes and get their hands dirty. They'll just go to the next thing that they think is going to bring them
about getting
success.
rich quick.
That's all that it is.
Finding
Across
success
the board.
So I am part of the generation that raised kids in the 2000s. That was part of the problem. I mean, I divorced dad at the time. Divorced dads, what do? They spoil their kids. I mean, so I take my kid. I didn't know what to do with my son when he was 3. When I had spare time, 4. We'd end up at Toys R Us. You remember? I mean, I used to take him to Boogie Street, and Fred's like, "What are you gonna do with Austin today?" I don't know. We'll probably go to Toys R Us for a while. So my point to you is, whatever the reason were, we were just materialism was thrown on these kids by a lot of us. We caused that problem, part of the problem, right? The immediacy of everything. It was, you talked about what the difference was with like our generation compared to like what we see now. Christmas used to really be a thing. I mean, like a thing, meaning like you might, as a kid growing up in Coriopolis, Canonsburg, you might get 4 or 5 things for Christmas or maybe 3, but it was unbelievable. But now, every day is their every day is kind of like what our Christmas was.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now
That's
for
a good
them to
point.
have a great Christmas, my kids would have to have
Stacked up
25.
to the thing, yeah.
It didn't, I mean, it got to the point where we had made the point. It was enough already. But I think that's probably just one example, that holiday, but it's symptomatic, I think, of the problem. We just were okay. And again, had the technology existed back when we were younger, our society might have looked a lot different, and we probably would have fallen in some of the same kind of traps. I'm not giving us a pass. I'm just saying we didn't have access to all that stuff to create that kind of immediate expectation of stuff,
Yeah, and I'm thinking too, there's a lack of, like you said, there was a process almost to achieve something. Not the
Good
instant
points.
gratification. It was slower, like you said. So when you don't have those steps and in their shortcuts, you lose vital time to develop certain parts of your
skills,
emotional intelligence too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So without a high EQ or understanding how to empathize with someone and, maybe they made this decision or said something, I shouldn't cancel them. Maybe I should try to understand them first.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't think that way. Their shortcut is aggression, and you need to be stopped immediately. You might as well just be dead.
Yep.
Great
I
point.
don't like your idea. You might as well be dead, because and that's exactly
terrible.
That's exactly what it is.
It's so cutthroat. It's like,
and that's exactly what. Here's the thing, man. And I'm going to be silly because I'm an old man now, because I don't.
You are old as fuck.
I know, but the thing is, you see all these things. You see, we had if we saw violence on TV, that was the big thing when we were young. Oh, all these guns shit on TV and blah, blah, blah. It's causing violence, blah, blah, blah. Now you have things that are offensive or people dislike, on social media, which is right there on your phone. And people look at that and they're like, oh my God, it's right here in front of us. We're being exposed to stuff that some people like, some people don't, but they think that that's a reality. Back in the day, the guns on TV, people thought that was, if you go to a different country, if you go to England, that's a reality. Did they think that, oh my God, does everybody carry a gun down the street? Fucking, we're not going down the street and shooting anybody up.
Oh yeah, a lot in Europe thought that the way our Wild West was like everybody was like, Westerns were the reality of America.
I sat with
in the 70s.
I sat with these little kids. I was in England. I sat with these little kids on a little tour thing, and they asked me. They said, "I can tell by your accent you're from America." I'm like, yeah. So the kid wants to ask me all these questions, and he starts asking me questions. But that's one of the things he asked. He thought that everybody carried a gun, and you could just pull out your gun. He was a young kid and shoot anybody. But that was the perception that he had. That was the perception he had.
I mean, you could
15 years ago, and but again. Here are people seeing things on social media because it's readily available now. But my point was that those things were on TV and film. Right now, you can go to a reel or whatever on there, and you can see something you like, dislike, but your perception of
what's real and what's
that's
not.
Right. But these people, it's on there, so it's got to be real. I want to be like that.
So is it blurring the lines between reality and fantasy?
Exactly.
Fantasy is a tough word.
Yeah.
People nowadays live in a
Filters,
fantasy world. They think that they're going to get everything handed to them. They are entitled to this, and they didn't do the work. People see this, and again, instant gratification. But parents also push that on their kids.
So let me ask you both on the other side of the table, because I kind of think I know where Fred will go with this, but
you never know where I'm going to go.
This is something we don't talk about on this show very often, and I should. We talk about a lot of things, issues in society and so forth, but I don't ask my guests too often what they think is coming. What do they think in the next year, the next 5 years, maybe 20-year projection? I don't mean specifically in your particular industry. I'm saying we talk a lot about the ills of social media and what's happening geopolitical, maybe as it ties into that. Are you fearful for what's going to happen in the future? Do you have optimism? Do you think that there will be a generation, maybe one or two away, they'll basically correct all the problems that we're dealing with now? Because I want to always believe the generations below will be greater than the generations that came before. I want to believe that. My grandparents' generation was the World War II generation, and I know we have a lot of reverence toward them, but I think, I think we've done a hell of a lot more as society since then. I just don't know from an honor and a loyalty standpoint and an ethics standpoint and a morality standpoint, can these prior generations beat that generation? I don't think so.
No.
And the fear that I have is that I don't have a good grasp for my own headspace about I have my first my step grandbaby, and I have this little baby I'm holding. I'm going, wow, it's like smack in the face, but at the same time, now add 20 years when this child's 20. What the hell is this going to look like? I mean, I guess I don't have a right to know, but I'd like to have an idea that I felt in the 80s like things are going to be great. In the 90s, I was thinking about society's amazing. This internet thing is unbelievable. I can go out and intentionally look and get information on things I dig. Fantastic. But now, if you told me in 1996 that in 2006, and in 2116 there was going to be social media and all this caustic BS, I wouldn't have believed you. I wouldn't be able to believe it. Right? It's not good. It's not. It was good, I think. It's just not good now. The way we treat each other, we use these vehicles to really fight. Maybe I'm pessimistic. I just don't see how that's going to change. And I'm interested in what other people think about what's coming.
Well, so I think that it makes people care about things that they normally wouldn't have cared about in generations prior, right? So like you talk about like gun violence. Now, people might not have cared about it in the 80s, but now, or you normally wouldn't care about it now, but it's like, 10 pages that you follow just shared a video, all of the same video. And it's like, wow, you know what? I'm going to form an opinion about this. And now I'm going to repost it and I'm going to share it. So I think that the way that society, people
put emphasis on things that aren't important.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Or it's because other people, so I'm going to give you, I'm going to say it anyways. So
that's what we do here.
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed.
So I'm going to give you an example of this.
Okay.
Remember over COVID when people were posting the black squares?
Yes.
What did we back up? Wait, what?
It was for the BLM
Oh,
movement.
yeah, for sure. Yep.
And if you didn't do it,
Yep.
you didn't post a black square, that meant that you were racist. It meant that you
Hateful.
supported
I
people
posted it. I felt the pressure. I did it.
So I didn't
Mhm.
because I said, you know what? I grew up in Newcastle. My godson's black.
Mhm.
A lot of my friends, I played football. I don't have to explain. I felt like I don't have to explain my beliefs.
Mhm.
My actions show, the type of person that I am.
Mhm.
If you're going to sit there and, and put me on the cross because I didn't post something on a fucking social media platform,
Yeah.
and then so be it. And I
Yeah.
had people call me and say, you know what? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, me and know my heart.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have to question me and ask me that, it makes me wonder, were we ever really even friends? I've known you for 20 years and you think that you know that, but because social media is driving a behavior and viewpoint with you, then and it's making you literally think of somebody that you've known for 20 years, think that one of the worst things about me. So that's where so when you ask about where we're going in a society, I'm very pessimistic. I tend to try to be an optimistic person in general, but when you have things like that,
How could you not be?
how can you not be when you're
Right.
going to think one of the worst things about me based on an action that, quite frankly, the media drove? So the media tells you that, you need to do X, Y, and Z or else. And now, because I didn't do it, I didn't want to cave, and I didn't fault anybody for doing it, but, it was my prerogative.
Well, you were able to, where I give you the greater credit was regardless of your beliefs, but you were able to recognize and think. You weren't reactionary. I wasn't paying attention that day when everything the shit hit the fan. And then like, holy shit. And then I think I was watching CNN. So I got one side of the story politically, which wasn't a smart thing to do, but that's what I did. And I was like, wow, this is terrible, which it was terrible.
It's awful.
But I also was kind of guilted into showing an expression of solidarity. And those are all things I believe anyways.
For sure.
But then I stepped back after about a couple of days and thinking to myself, well, so I didn't do it on Facebook. I did it on Instagram. I put a post on it. But regardless, I felt guilted into doing it. But it speaks to the bigger issue is that we're using events in history to basically attack other people.
Yeah.
Attack other people, attack their character, their beliefs, speak for them based on an action. And a lot of it, like I said, I think is media driven.
It's called virtue signaling, right?
Yep.
We're guilting people into doing virtue signaling that we create and we deem appropriate.
Exactly. And I think it started off in the
Right.
music. I think that whole push.
There's no
started
push.
off like in the
Award
music
shows.
industry.
It's like when
Well,
everybody
yeah.
starts
Well, no, like
take when
that-
they win their
That
awards,
goes
they're
way
like,
back, yeah.
Yeah.
and vote for this person. I was just like, just take your award and get off the
now,
freaking stage.
you are onto something big because I will share this. I think it was Springsteen did it in 84 or 85 when the album came out. And I was a young kid. I was 19. I'm watching the Grammys, like, and I'm thinking that's Grammys are kind of cool, Michael Jackson was pretty cool in his day. Not my kind of music, but pretty cool. I'm watching all this stuff. And that was the first time I saw it get real political. And it was a situation where it was born in the USA and all this stuff. And, and you got to vote Democratic and you got to get rid of Reagan. And it was all like on the Grammys. And I'm like, wow, how about that shit? And I'm like, I just wanted to watch some rock videos,
Yeah. Why are
and
we
like,
talking about this?
That was the social media platform of the day, man.
Yep.
Getting a big award show because all eyes are on you. Look at me. I'm going to say my agenda. And, right or wrong, you've got to.
and that's all gone away now because for the most part, because it's 24/7.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you've got the
You're
world's
bombarded with
attention. Like, yeah, or do you? You really don't.
Yeah, you've got your.
It's just noise now.
24 followers following you. Fucking.
I mean, if The Rock says something, people are going to take notice. Joe Rogan's going to have a certain guest on his show, people are going to notice. As a matter of fact, if 2020 has a guest on one night, I don't think anyone gives a shit.
No.
Now, if Rogan has that same guest, everybody's going to notice.
Watch it.
Isn't that fantastic?
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
that little sliver of society is great.
Well,
Yeah.
it's so weird how like Rogan or long form podcasts can now.
Oh, it's dominating the talk shows of old.
Yeah, well, he had Bernie Sanders on. And everyone thought he like
That
supported.
was a great show.
It was a great episode,
Uh-huh.
but they thought he supported Bernie, which he never even disclosed. Or wait, is that who he endorsed? Am I getting this wrong?
I think
he
yeah.
did.
I think he did.
Okay.
We had Sanjay Gupta on.
But here's
that was a great episode too.
But
Because he
here's-
called him out.
It was great, but here was great about that Bernie Sanders. I am a capitalist through and through. I am. And Fred and I go back. Fred and I are on opposite sides of the political spectrum and always have been. But I said to myself, if Rogan's going to do a typical Rogan interview on this with Sanders, it's going to be fantastic. I walked away from that. He didn't convince me on much, but I thought he was well thought out. I thought he was rational. There were some things I connected on and said, hey, I think he's right. So that being presented in a good way through podcasting made me open my mind.
Yeah.
Whereas if I was just getting sound bites off the news, I wouldn't give Bernie Sanders. I mean, I've watched him fly first class many times. I mean, I know Bernie Sanders, but from a policy standpoint, like, I'm like, wow, if this is really what he also says he believes in, I'm kind of in congruence with that. That's the kind of stuff that podcasting can do, which can break through traditional media.
Yeah.
I really believe that. I don't know if maybe that'll be a positive. Hopefully that'll come by. But the problem, I think, is everything's getting commercialized and chopped up and edited and cut into small little pieces.
It goes back to the endorsements we talked about on our podcast when you were like, you don't have to deal with censoring yourself because you're not bought by a brand where you have to be quiet.
Yeah.
No, but I'm in a unique position. I can afford to do this little project. I envy and commend those who are able to turn this into a profitable entity. I'm nothing against that, but it does come with the price of not really integrity, but maybe an unvarnished integrity. I have an unvarnished presentation here. But the point I'm trying to say is I think podcasting can be a tool to try to even out some of the madness of society if we give it a chance, because we're not going to get it in network television. We're not going to get it in traditional media because that's so commercialized. They're trying to extract you've seen this in music. They're trying to extract every possible dollar out of every moment of an event.
Yeah.
A show,
Everything.
a rock show, a movie. You go to the movies now. My wife and I laugh. We don't go to the movies very often, but she says, hey, so the movie starts at 9:20. I said, yeah. I said, why don't we go through the drive-thru around 9:20, grab our stuff, go to the Five Below store and get all our food to sneak in there.
Sneak it in.
And then we'll be there right on time. We know it's going to be 20 minutes of
20,
shit.
20 minutes of
Yeah.
They're doing that. They're getting ready to do that on Netflix now too.
Oh,
You have to
Wait,
pay
what?
more.
What are you talking about?
I
I
just saw.
I saw that. I got
They're gonna
pissed
have a
off when
package
they
now
said
that you have to
that.
pay more to bypass the
commercials.
ads.
Yeah, the ads.
Yeah. Well, attention is currency. That's how they make money. It's a way to make money, so it just corrupts everything.
Yep.
It just ruins it.
And it's almost like they acknowledge it, though, because it's like, all right, we know this is a pain in the ass. Well, pay more so then you don't have to sit there and look at the ads.
I think it's interesting, too, when Rogan started doing his reads middle of his show. Like, you'd be listening to his show.
Did he start doing that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then they have pre-recorded reads. But it's almost like I think he almost is saying, I know you're not going to buy this shit. Someone's buying that stuff. But I'm guessing they wouldn't keep advertising. But I mean, he's like, I kind of know it's a pain in the dick, but this is what it is. And I think sometimes he tries to find humor in some of the ads he reads and all that stuff. And we talked about that before. The fringe businesses are out there who are really capitalizing on that. The cannabis businesses and the shave your balls business and all that stuff. I mean, really, those
the
ones
Dollar Shave Club.
The ones that won't typically advertise on network television. But in the end, I think he knows that it's the commercialism is rubbing him the wrong way. But you know what? I mean, if someone offered me $21 million or $120 million to do a podcast after 10 years,
I'll read.
I would do it.
Yeah, right.
I'll read whatever the fuck you want me to
in front of me.
I will say Exxon Gas is like the greatest company. I mean, I'll wear an Exxon T-shirt on it, no problem. But I don't know. I want to know from you where are we going? Where are we going?
I'm a little bit doom and gloom. I don't think all the factors that are influencing our current society, and I only know what I know, which is my American Western Pennsylvania society. I don't think it's a good cocktail for the future in terms of being able to have confidence in yourself, which I feel is a foundation that keeps people in a healthy mindset and being able.
So when you say confidence in yourself, do you mean like for your own health or stability or your ability to achieve? What do you mean?
Just to be able to function, because anxiety is super high with everyone, which creates.
Do you feel that?
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel the effects of it. Like social media gives me intense episodes and waves of anxiety.
Really? That would surprise me about you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
that's pretty honest.
I have to mask it.
Okay, that's pretty honest.
But at least I know how to.
So talk to me a little bit about what are some of the triggers in terms of just, I mean, for women it's different naturally, because I think I don't know if it's that different. It's definitely different. I think there's a lot of body shaming and like there's things that we might not be able to understand, although it's happening on the male side too now. I think it's, the envy thing. And I mean, if I scroll through my thing and see one more guy trying to sell a protein shake, sitting there with all jacked up on steroids, like,
yeah, right.
I mean, I get it, but like, when you say anxiety, what do you mean? Like how fast it's coming at you?
I think I get anxiety on how I'm being perceived.
Okay.
I like to pretend like I don't care, which is kind of like
you do a good job.
I do. I know exactly how to pretend that I don't care.
Okay.
And to a degree, sometimes I don't. It's almost like I try to desensitize myself. If I overpost or keep going, then eventually it won't matter anymore.
Okay.
But in terms of, it's weird too. Obviously, I have a way better the good experiences I have on social media outweigh the bad.
Okay.
I do have some bad ones. We get some bad comments. Like it's wild. I'll get wild comments sometimes.
So do you read those comments?
Yeah, and I'm like, for a second, I'll get real hot. Like I want to just kill this person.
Why do you read them?
Because it's a red notification. It's like the casino. I got to look at it. It's like the casino effect.
Could you put a mechanism in place to not have that happen?
I probably could, but then I think if it's there and it's not true, I got to delete it at least. Or I could turn off comments.
Are you talking about on YouTube?
Yeah,
okay.
I get wild comments on YouTube. But I guess what gives me anxiety is the interpretation. So I'll post something and I think it looks great, or I think it's a good message. And some people, most of the time, will agree with me. But then you get those outliers that completely take it the wrong way. And that's where my brain goes. And it's like, oh my God, do I look like this?
Why do you think it matters?
It doesn't, but it's like, I have to create that in myself where I build that confidence that shields that from me.
Or put a mechanism in place where you don't see it.
I can, but it's for me.
You don't want to.
I either don't want to, or the way my brain works and how I psychoanalyze everything. Like I have to make sure it's ironed out. Or it's like an OCD.
That's
like
heavy.
I have to make sure I see it, and then I have to distinguish, okay, this is real or they're just being a hater, and then I have to put that fire out, which is delete them or block them. I can't just let it live, if that makes sense.
Anna, how old are you?
31.
Okay, so think about a 12-year-old girl, 13-year-old girl, 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Think about that cycle and how they're able to control it. A lot of them don't. That's why suicide rates are up. That's why depression. These kids are on these antidepressants. They're 13, 14 years old because, you know, they can't deal with it. That's why my stepdaughter, I took her social media away. You know, you're not going to have that because not everything is for social media, you know, and she was portraying herself based on what kids and boys were saying to her. And, you know, and Anna's a 32-year-old grown woman that does well for herself, but yet, you know, you care about what some idiot in his basement is saying about you. Like the one guy called me like Jethro off Beverly Hillbillies or whatever. And I was like, what the fuck is Beverly Hillbillies?
I don't know if I see that.
So I looked it up. I'm like,
Some Max
maybe.
Baer right there.
But then I look at the guy and it's this creepy guy holding his cat.
Yeah, it's always a fake
picture.
profile.
Yeah,
it's always like, oh my God.
Some guy with a cat.
the-
It's always some guy with a cat, Fred.
Oh my
Send him a
God.
recliner.
It's
Yeah.
always some guy with a cat, Fred.
Yeah. My comment was they said that I was a guy pretending to be a woman. That was mine. They're like, oh, nice tuck job.
They're calling her Anaconda.
Wait a second.
Which is
What? I
hilarious.
don't get that one.
Her name's Anna. and
No, I
he was saying
get that, but
Yeah.
I don't get the whole.
Oh, I don't get why he's saying it. That's the point. People can say whatever the hell they want. It doesn't have to make sense.
Because they're hiding in their basement.
And they're just it's like
it's
you
not
know
a
what?
real person.
It's like
or it was. I don't know.
people just That's the
Dude,
problem.
it's
That's why I'm so.
crazy.
And then this idea of a metaverse, which is coming regardless, you know, and people were sitting
Let's
there.
talk
Justin
to Fred
Bieber-
about that because you kind of mentioned that to me when I was on your show, and I pondered that for days. Like you talked about like the NFTs. Have you seen what this NFT thing is?
Yeah.
If I can give two shits about that.
God, this is why I love doing this. But when you say metaverse, it's like this virtual world, right? It's going to start through Meta, the company that Facebook's new name for. Is that right?
There's multiple. So there's still a lot of unknowns about it. But yeah, Facebook has obviously they changed their name to Meta. You know,
Yeah.
so they're going to be one of these overarching metaverses, right? So now, you know, within that metaverse, you're going to be able to. The only reason why I know about it because I think I said I invested in this company to where it's called Genies, and basically it's you have your own 3D personal avatar. Mind you, I actually despise all of this, but I think it's coming regardless. So
yeah, you don't want to
I
get
might
left
as
off
well just-
financially, right?
So, but now it's like for example, all of Hollywood. So like you have Justin Bieber, all the hip hop world, and they're all partnered with this company, and they're making their own avatar. And now it's like, for example, like Justin Bieber around Christmas last year had a concert, you know, in the metaverse where his genie was singing, which through him,
Okay.
and you paid to get into that.
Okay,
It's
wait.
crazy.
So okay. Help me understand, because it sounds like a live action cartoon world. That's what it sounds like to me, right? If I ever simplify it,
it
that's-
is, but
Yeah.
it's monetized to the point that it's like, oh well, Justin Bieber wore these jeans or this shirt in his concert on Christmas, so I'm gonna buy that and it has value and put it on my avatar, or I could buy there's all these like digitized, you know, goods that you could buy that
That terrifies me.
fluctuate in value. It's insane. That's why.
So okay. So is the goal for us to be like living in this new world,
Yeah.
or maneuvering our avatar in this new world, right? That's like where the assumption can be. That's where we're headed with this, right?
Think about the Oculus that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So that
Yes, that's what I.
technology is coming.
Well, no.
It's there.
I'm saying it'll get there, but what I'm getting at is I don't see where the allure of that is greater than the allure of reality. I don't see it. It's going to have to be explained to me how that now.
Because people don't live in reality anymore.
Right.
like. What do you
Yeah.
mean?
You're not going outside and playing. You're playing on your iPad.
They're already doing it.
You have no. Kids today have no concept of what it is to live outside a house without a phone, without an iPad, without a computer, without being influenced from something else. Like you said, now you have digital clothes that don't exist, but you can put them on your thing, but there's monetary value
And you
to
gotta
that.
pay for it.
You've got
crazy.
money that's not there, but it has monetary value, but you better invest in it because it's going to, you know, if you don't, you're fucked. the bottom line is
I just don't get
it doesn't, nothing exists.
Reality's not enough anymore.
Yeah. You have to have something else.
So
Could you imagine being a nerd in the metaverse?
No, wait a second. So what I'm saying to you, I'm going to break it down to brass tacks the way I can understand it. You all are going to laugh, but this is how I say it. Then we have devalued everything, including sex, the feeling of the male-female attraction. Sorry, don't want to exclude anybody. Just talking about the majority of people, male-female relationships. Here we fucking go. But I'm saying, like, the value, the human experience of male physical intimacy and all that stuff, the sexual thing, we've now thrown that out the fucking window. It means nothing.
There's no intimacy.
Because, what do you mean?
No intimacy.
There's no intimacy now. You can go to a fucking club and fuck somebody in a bathroom and just walk away. Did you ever see that Family Guy?
That's been going on forever.
Tinder, there's
Yeah.
truck stops now that people stop and literally they'll go there to screw and then they'll.
If you want to get fucked tonight, get on your fucking Tinder and you flat.
I don't have Tinder.
Well,
Bumble
what I'm
and
saying
Emma.
is, but I don't either.
You're gonna get me in
But
trouble.
There's people
I
that
don't
go
have
on there,
Tinder.
and that's what the thing is. They go in for a hookup. And they self-gratify themselves. It's done, over, and you're out the door. I don't have to see you again. I don't have to do anything again. If I get a dinner out
I
of it,
hope that ain't right, man.
it is the truth.
what?
You hear
That's-
people.
yeah.
I'm on the road. I see guys fucking on this.
Go get a
all the time.
massage.
Yeah, get a massage.
That's always been around.
But the thing is it's instantaneous again.
Yeah.
And nothing's real. There's no intimacy anymore. Nobody's loyal to anybody else because everybody's trying to strap on you. If you can find that one person that is loyal to you and that will be loyal to you, and you've found $1 million right there.
A unicorn.
Yeah, you found
Literal
the unicorn. Because nothing like that exists anymore. There's no loyalty to anybody. And that's the thing. And
I must be so
I'm not going
old,
to toot
man.
my own
I
horn
must
here.
be so old.
I'm not, but that's the thing that got me so far in what I do is I'm loyal to my company. I'm loyal to my people. I'm loyal to the people around me. I give the same quality to the rock stars as I do to the guys that come to my house to get their stuff fixed. That's the exception in the business. And I didn't mean to toot my own horn there, but you don't see that anymore. And when I get a good job, that's what people see. Hey man, this cat puts in the work. Nobody wants to be put in the work. Nobody wants to be loyal. Nobody wants to be intimate. If somebody else can offer me $5 more, I'm going. You know what I mean? And it's crazy that nobody looks at the long term.
How did we create this world?
It's all instant gratification. They want it now.
I refuse to believe that intimacy is not a desire anymore.
It's a
It's a
desire.
desire.
It's a desire, but nobody can find it.
Nobody can find it.
What do you mean no one can find it?
Oh, they're going to find it in the metaverse. What are you going to do? That's going to be what's interesting. Is that
How do you have sex in the
Intimacy
metaverse?
In the
That's my
You
point.
gotta buy an attachment.
Well, then what if you're married in real life and then you're
having
going to
an
be
affair
married
in
you're having an affair in the
is
metaverse
it
with your
so is it cheating
avatar-
if you're having
No,
sex
but
in the
in the
metaverse?
metaverse-
I think it is. Yeah. It's
And you have like
emotional.
a metaverse divorce lawyer or something like that comes in.
telling you,
fucking
it's
fix everything
We
up.
joke. It's probably going to be real.
Oh, listen, there's fights. There's people that are
Wait, what?
Oh, I'm telling you, I've seen it's already happening. It's just not as mainstream to where
Fighting. Were they just like beating air?
Where
Smashing virtual
there's
dishes
like
over their
metaverse. I wish I had there's literally people are getting bullied in bars, like with beer bottles smacked over their head.
I saw that video.
Did you see it? I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it's insane.
Yeah.
And people are offended by it. Like whoever's
Oh my
emoji that
God.
is or avatar, they're
Oh, do we have a click
Like,
emoji
it was
that shows that
assault.
we're offended
like
now?
my guy got assaulted. So
Oh, I like that. Oh, I love that. Oh, I'm offended by that. Oh, I don't
Heart.
like that. I'm angry.
It's like eat, sleep. What kind of? Am I offended?
Oh my God, kill me now. Like just that. I
That's just it. People are.
No.
You didn't get to me to answer this question. I do not see a bright future for anybody. And it's the truth because
The aliens can't come soon enough.
well they can't and they're not.
We
gonna
are
come.
the aliens.
Well, they're not going to come back because fucking we're
Yeah,
fucking
right.
everything up
Would
down here.
you if you were
Ghetto
them?
Earth.
No, I wouldn't come back and see us. I'm like, these guys are uncivilized. Holy shit. But yeah, man. I mean, the way things are going, again, no intimacy. Nobody cares
Oh,
about.
come on.
Oh, you know what? People don't care about somebody
can't
else's
be.
feelings.
That can't
You step
be.
on somebody else's feelings or you cut on them, it's the end of the world. And that's what the whole thing is. Nobody can relate to anybody because, again, like we said, you see grandma on FaceTime all year. the one time a year you go to grandma's house and you look around and everybody's sitting at the Christmas dinner like this.
Yep.
Yeah.
And nobody's really talking to each other. I'll be so low as I'll say this about myself. I've texted somebody in the next room going, "Hey man, it's just, what's going on?" They're just too lazy to get up and walk up.
My wife, once in a while, we have a rather large house, so she'd be upstairs like watching television in one room, and I'll be down in my office. And if she does dare call me on the phone and tell me to go get her something from the kitchen or go check on the dog, and I'm like, wait a second, just wait. This is the final bastion of reality. We're not going to be texting and calling within the same property. We're not going to do this.
What?
We're not going to do this.
But unfortunately, that's a common thing now.
The intimacy thing kills me. Look, so much of the tapestry of my life have been the relationships, dating as a teenager and your first wife, and for me, the second wife, third wife, but all the women in between when I was dating, I was a younger person. That was a great part of my life. Not the actual sexual part, but the courtship, all the wonderment that went along with youth and coming of age, right? Mm. How could all of that have no value for a generation coming up? If they experience that, that's a huge part of the human experience.
And that's what's lacking in people now. People
really
are cutthroat and ruthless because they cannot connect, or they don't want to connect with someone else. And that's they're afraid of rejection. Mm. They're afraid of somebody saying a negative comment about them. And again, to find somebody, you're looking for a unicorn, and they're rare out there.
So you're in a dating pool, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you're not. I'm
on tour.
You're kind of in there.
That's a dating pool.
That's
an instant gratification.
I'm all business.
That's a big pool. That's a big pool. It's like fight scene of the Lord of the Rings,
right?
I didn't tell you that. I went to a metal show one time, and one of the artists, I was looking for Fred. One of the artists is like, talking to me side stage during the guitar years, and I said, "Dude, what's it like on this tour?" He's like, "It's terrible." I go, "Well, come on, man. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? At least one or two of those things have to work for you." He goes, "Turn around," and I'm on the side of the stage. We're at a festival or wherever. Turn around. I'm not gonna say what band it is. I'm not gonna say what artist it was. Turn around, and you were there. Don't lie, you were there. And he said, "Look at this." He's going like this, And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "It's like the fight scene of the fucking Lord of the Rings." You think for a moment I want to find anything in there to have a relationship with. And it was a commentary, which was kind of like a joke too, but he was basically saying it's like, finding, I guess he was just trying to say, hey, finding the right persons. I'm having the same problem, regardless of what I do for a living, that the average person's having, finding the right person.
Yeah.
I guess anybody can get, have sex. I get that. But like, I want to know what it is like dating now, like now, right now. Cause I hear this swipe left, swipe right. I missed all that. I was in on internet dating between divorces. So I know a little bit about that, but it's gotta be insane now, right?
I might be the wrong person to ask because it's like,
that sounds like a cover to me.
It's just like my experience with my current dating life. It's kind of like a very quick turnaround.
Okay.
It's like where
you get your own metaverse going on.
Yeah, I have my own metaverse going on where it's like, but it might just be me. Like I'll meet someone. I'm like, oh, what are they about? Oh my goodness. I want to know everything. And then it's like 7 days later, I'm like, I don't care anymore. That's me. It ages like milk. It's like, oh, you're great. And then it's one thing.
Expiration date on it.
But see, that could happen regardless of era of technology, right? That could be just your personality. What is it like maneuvering?
It's super hard to meet single people, I'm finding, that are interesting. Maybe it's because I'm 32. Like most, like my demo's married. They have kids. They're kind of settled. So I meet people. It's either like DMing on Instagram, or if I travel and go somewhere, and it's like I'm a stranger, so I'm more like open to be like, hey, I'm Anna or whatever, or they know that I'm not from there, and it's kind of like that. Or I'll meet someone through work. Maybe right. I know this person. But it's nothing like ever.
Well, I imagine it's probably not it's not hard meeting people. It's just hard meeting quality people.
People are goofy. Yeah. I'm into dudes and they're goofy. They're just like, they don't understand.
There's the line of the night. I'm into dudes and they're goofy.
Yeah.
They're goofy.
They're goofy. Like, I don't know. They're just a little lost. You know, sometimes they're not really respectful. Like you can tell like we're interested or attracted to each other, but they don't know how to talk to me in a respectful way. It's always very, more oftentimes than not, very sexualized. And I'm like, dude, I was just wondering like what you think about something.
So
they don't want to get to know me.
They want to just hook up.
They want to just hook up. It's very
So we're in a hookup culture.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Society
But wasn't it like
is.
that though? I feel like it was like that. I mean,
I think it,
70s, 80s, was it not?
yeah,
it was always
there was
sexualized.
always that seedy bar at the end of
But it
a
wasn't-
shopping center
it
strip
wasn't
there with the
so-
little blue light on the corner.
But it wasn't so in your face back then. You had to work for it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's
Now
true,
it's
yeah.
like, hey, you want to hook up? There's a bathroom.
And they don't want like a lot of dudes don't want to be monogamous. It's just
Is that symptomatic of the dating apps? Knowing that
It's
they
FOMO.
can immediately just go to somebody else.
I mean, if you do meet a cool guy, it's like, okay, well, I'm probably like number 3 in his roster of 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Really?
yeah, you're a dude. You have friends that are single.
Yeah, you're a dude.
Yeah.
You gotta, you have a single friends. Like, fess up here.
Am I saying
I
something
think
that's wrong?
I think that with guys, it's funny. My dad used to always say this since we were kids. He'd always say that men are pigs and women are nuts. And whether it's
I've
PC
heard that
or not,
before.
Nailed
I've
that.
heard that before.
always. And when you think about it, now you could say that, well, women are nuts because men are pigs,
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa. But I think that, again, like, I know that we're beating social media quite a bit, but look, the reality is that guys, you're on social media, you're following whoever the hell you want to follow, you're suggested followers, you have all these girls that are in bikinis, and it's always like the grass is always greener, so you're in a relationship with somebody and it's like, oh wow, you know what? Like, well, I see X, Y, and Z, and I've already been with this person however many times, but I think I want that. That's what's going to make me even more happier. It's what's going to make, it's never enough, and so like when you're dating somebody, I mean, look, for me, I met my wife about 8 years ago.
Mhm.
We got married probably 3 years ago this November. And, I guess I've went through a phase in my life before that to where, I don't want to call it get it out of your system.
You got your yayas out.
Yeah, I did, to a fault probably,
Mhm.
and so, but I think that there's guys now, like if you're my age and you're still living that lifestyle, if you would.
We used to call them douchebags.
Yeah.
Yep, they still
still
are.
they are, I mean, especially if you're doing it like with intent, like if you're leading someone in that direction.
How else would you not do it?
Yeah.
Well, so some people will sit there and they'll make it look like to a girl, that they actually really care. They genuinely want to be with them. They want to date them, And so here's somebody like Anna, to where it's like, okay, I think I align with this person, and then they stay the night, you hook up, and they don't answer or whatever. They end up
They
acting
ghost
like
you.
a big dickhead. Yeah. So I think that, and it's easier to do that now because of social media. You could meet people a lot easier now. I remember being in college, Facebook just first came around, and, we would message girls from other schools, that we would have never normally ever came in contact with. Get in the car, drive to that school, go party for the weekend, and then you go back. So like the element is so different now to where like it's just like this. And now there's apps literally with the intent of doing that. So guys now, where they're already inherently pigs, okay, now it's easy for them. They have greater access to do that. So it makes it harder for them to really find that person that they actually want to be with, that they're content with being with. I know a lot of my friends that are married that erased their social media because the temptation was too great that they could actually function and be loyal to their spouse.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very
well.
real
I
thing.
commend them if they can't manage.
If they
that,
recognize
to do it.
their
Yeah.
ability, but I've also seen people that didn't do that. They got caught up and, they're divorced for that same reason, So I think that whether you're in a relationship or you're not, I think that the temptation is the same,
You're
It
still
depends on whether you
susceptible
have the
to
control.
it.
Yeah, it's great. I always sit there and I think, of how like my grandparents, how they went about,
Yeah.
life.
Courtship.
Yeah.
It was a priority to like date people in the right way. Now
Yeah.
it's not really a priority to be
Well,
respectful.
I will even tell you that go back to the late 70s, early 80s. You know, there was, I mean, my dad was insistent that I had acted a certain way, and there were certain decorums, and there was, you know, and of course, you get sloppy as you get older, and society changes too. But yeah, that was a great time in my life. From my first date as a 13-year-old, you know, going to get pizza to all the way through that, I would not. That's a great part of my life. That if I didn't have that, I mean, to not get that as a human is or something similar.
Now, if you do that, you're a
sad.
creep. You're dude. I don't want to be with him if he showed me respect.
No,
come on.
no,
That can't be true.
no, I don't agree.
There's that part of it,
Please
too.
be
Yeah.
chivalrous. Please be nice.
Oh,
So, but you're also, but
But if you're chivalrous, the chicks are like, "Hey, he's a creep." He's a
you're
creep.
exactly
not
right.
me.
Oh yeah, I know a
but
ton of
you're-
them like that.
I
Depends
think you're in
on-
the minority because some
they might
girls
already
actually
be-
like to be treated like that.
I like open the door
No,
for me.
they don't like to be treated with respect. There's an element.
What do you mean?
Look, there are girls
Elaborate.
that are out
I'm an
there-
independent woman, and you don't have to open the door for me.
Well,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
girls that actually you know, it's funny because it's like you could have a guy that I just watched the video. It was actually a TikTok I watched. You have two guys. They were in the same apartment with this girl, right? And it was totally fake.
Right.
But
The
you know,
point
the one
was-
guy was sitting there saying, "You know what? I'm gonna, you know, here's what a date with me would be like. We're gonna go out. We'll go on a walk. We'll go out to eat. You know, this really romantic thing." And she goes, "Oh, you know, you're such a sweet guy." The other guy's his roommate. He goes, "Hey, you know, here we're getting takeout, and then we're going into my room, and I'm gonna, you know, X, Y, and Z." And I'm not gonna say what he said. And she just goes, "I can't believe you would say that to me. I am so offended. Which way's your room?" You know, and so it's like there's an element of society that is like that too because it's accepted.
Weren't they always there? I mean, like case in point.
But it wasn't broadcast like that.
No, I mean, and you know, growing up, there was some girls that turned into women that, you know, I hate to use the word easy. That was kind of like the slap in the face word to use back then, but their views on sexuality were as liberated as probably more liberated than ours were, you know. But I mean, they were always
How were
there.
they viewed, though?
They were always there. They were viewed fucking horribly.
By
If
other women?
If that was exposed, if their behavior got out there, or even the insinuation of their behaviors out there, they were not treated well or
See, I don't think that's
spoken
cool. I
well.
think if you as a woman want to be sexually liberated, do as much as you
That's
want.
the difference, though.
I'm like, go ahead.
Right.
Like, I no judgment here.
Yeah, and that's the change in the decades.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm
Yeah,
saying that's
yeah,
how
yeah.
it was. But I guess to your point, like a man isn't going to get the opportunity to show chivalry if the dating pool he's working from is showing him that they don't want it.
Do you disagree with me on that? Like, do you think that all girls? I think that it's both sides. I think that guys can act in a piggish way, and I
Sure,
think that
yeah,
girls can act
yeah.
the same way. And there's guys that are looking for girls. That
A lot
want
of
that,
girls,
and
they don't have
vice versa.
boundaries for how men respect them. So if a guy starts talking to me in a way where I'm like, you know, this is not what I want to hear right now, like I'll block this person. You know, I'm real like I don't bend on that.
Yeah.
I want you to be polite. I want you to get to know me.
Yeah.
Like that guy asked me we're getting takeout number 1. I'd be done at that point. Like,
I'm not saying, no, I'm not saying that that's everyone.
I don't think I've ever led with that.
element.
Fred. We're gonna get takeout.
I'm like, well, you're just not for
Yeah.
me. It's not going to work out.
I think that there's instances where I think it's not just the guy. Like I don't
Oh, of
think
course.
that I think that it's both. Is
Yeah.
what I was trying to
Yeah.
get at. You know, from my experience. Like I've seen guys that have wanted to truly, you know, thought they were going to spend their life with a girl,
Mhm.
you know, and the girl, the roles were, I guess if you want to say the roles were flipped,
Mhm.
you know, where the girl was the one that was like
Leading him on, you mean, and just
leading him on, you know, hooked up with him, and you know what, I'm gonna go.
oh,
on
I've
to the
seen that
next
many
guy,
times.
you know?
Yeah, some girls who I've known in my past would look at it like a conquest. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
he's
it's-
number, you know,
I think it more
Yeah.
so guys do it than girls, but I mean, I think that it's not,
yeah.
you know.
So, are we living in an age where there's no shame anymore? And again, I don't want to come coming from a higher moral platitude. I have to ask the question, but I don't want you to appear that I'm coming from any morals mountaintop. I'm just asking about shame when it comes to sexuality and public behavior and sexuality and what you put out there. can people feel shame anymore?
I definitely feel it secondhandedly if I see some wild post. I'm like, what is she doing or what is he doing?
No, you feel bad for someone, but you're
I'm
not
just like-
personally shamed.
No, oh, do I feel shame?
No, I'm saying, I'm saying, do people? I think you do, but it's a general. The generations coming up, do they have They have just shunned the feeling of shame.
Oh,
So it's interesting. So I guess I was thinking of, like you think about.
We can go any way you want to. Go ahead.
We think about girls today, that, the way that culture accepts dress codes, if you would, right? So like think about going to a beach. You'll sit there and see an 18-year-old girl in a thong bikini with her mom and dad sitting right there, or their grandmother, and it's like, wait a second, like,
It's a big
my
change.
gosh, like I could not even
That's a big
fathom,
change.
if my daughter even thinks about wearing anything cheeky whatsoever, it's like you're going to go upstairs and you're going to wear a shirt down to your ankles if you think that that's acceptable. But now, like, parents now accept that to be okay with their girls or whatever with doing that. So I think that if you have an element of parenting that removes that sense of shame, like, okay, well, I'm okay with my daughter being upstairs with a boy. Well, she's 15. I'm okay with her being up, and I'm okay with them being. Whereas before, it's like even my mom did not let girls go. I mean, you found other ways to do it, but I mean, my mom did not. It just didn't.
Where
happen.
there's a will, there's a way.
yeah. I mean,
That's it. Didn't happen.
in each token, make sure if you're going to parent the way the girl dresses, then parent the boy on how he should act as well.
100%. There's definitely a double standard.
Right.
There always has been.
Yeah. There's definitely 100%.
That's what sucks.
And I even acknowledge it to her.
But okay, let's say, even if you think about beyond the sexual component, are people have the ability to feel shame anymore? Shame in the way you treat people, shame in the things you say about other people.
I feel it. If I do something out of my moral compass, I'd feel terrible. It would eat at me. I mean, if I felt like I did something wrong, I apologize and take accountability immensely. But also,
How much of that are you seeing in society?
Not much.
Not many.
I feel like I'm
very
the
many people
minority.
do.
Yeah.
Not very many people do that. You see all these Karens on.
Karen. I wanted to bring that up. The evolution of the Karen.
My God, yeah, these people just they're right. Their view is right, and you're wrong, and you're in the wrong neighborhood. And nobody cares. Nobody cares about what they say to somebody.
Let me dance through this next question and see if I can do this correctly. I'm going to bring up a political figure, but I want you to take, for the sake of this conversation, the particular politics and all the policies and throw them in the toilet. I want you to only look at the way this man was built, his character, and how he conducts himself and maneuvers before he was president and while he was president. So yes, I'm talking about Trump. So was Donald Trump an anomaly in the progression of our presidents and our leaders, or was he just a really good, accurate reflection of most fucking people? He just was willing to put it out there and didn't operate, quite frankly, from a position of shame. Again, it's a hard question to ask because you either liked his policies or you didn't. But I'm talking about the man and how he was reacted upon by a good swath of the Americans for a lot of the behavioral stuff that he did while in office. Did he speed up this process of fighting with each other and a race
Look,
to the
I think
bottom?
the reality is the politics is a ridiculously nasty game.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it always has
It is. Right. Well, with the nature of social media and everything like that. I mean, like people, for example, people want to sit there and talk about, Trump and, his marriages and, all how faithful he was and whatever. Meanwhile, it's like, wait a second. You didn't have social media back during the Clinton administration or
the Kennedys.
During Kennedy. Yeah, right. So, but now you want to sit there and act like the White House needs to be this figure of morality. It never was. So, I mean, it was always, in my view, I tend to not vote for the man. I'm not electing a priest or a pastor, and I'm a Christian. I'm voting for someone that's going to, that stands for policies and beliefs that I align with. Not even necessarily that I align with, that I think are good economically. I vote economically, right? Now, as it relates to him, is he Is he perfect? No, absolutely not. I think that he's said some, really stupid things. Now, he's the counterpuncher, though. If somebody says it, but it's funny, like somebody could hold up a decapitated head of him with blood on it, and now she was reprimanded for it, but, in the same breath, he says something else.
I think all that stuff is horrid, but
it's freedom of speech.
But they're not the president. And see, this is where I have a little different taste on it, but it's because of my age.
Sure.
So when Clinton did what he did in the office, I wasn't really appalled by that. I thought it was really a stupid thing for a sitting president to do, take that chance. But knowing that other risque shit's been done by all presidents. But I felt bad because you had a lot of people now that had to have talks with their very young kids, your very young daughters about that stuff and explain before they were ready to. Clinton forced a breakdown of the sexual morality of the country on society and forced a lot of parents to now, unfortunately, have conversations with their kids before they were ready. That happened for sure. My problem was I grew up in an era where I was hoping that my senators and my president and vice president, I wanted to look up to them and I wanted them to be a little better person than I was. I wanted them to be a little bit above the fray, even if it was an act. I wanted them to go on that stage and show a little better character than the average American. Probably wasn't reality, but it was good to have that projected. We now race to the bottom now where we intentionally tear the shit out of our politicians. They're usually dirtbags anyways, but we really expose them for all their things. And we then somehow turn around and expect them to be these high quality people when we've done everything we possibly can from both sides of the aisle to tear them down and to the guttural level. And I don't know if that kind of stuff is that lack of reverence that I think prior generations felt toward the president, felt toward their senator, not so much their congressmen, but their senators, the Supreme Court justices. These are people that I think it was better when a lot of the Americans looked up to these folks. That was a better time. That was the foundation of our society, for better or worse. Sometimes it went your way, sometimes it didn't, but that was the foundation. That foundation is eroded. Yes, they're human beings, no better or worse than any of us, but we don't need to tear them down to make us fucking feel better. And I think that's what's happened. And someone like Trump will fight back. He's kind of an anomaly. I don't think Barack Obama was a fighter. I don't think Bill Clinton was a fighter. I think his wife was. But I don't think Biden's a fighter. But here was a man, he was. And he also was a moderate at one time. Yeah. But here's a man in Trump that, we put in there, and then we just saw at times the worst a human can be at times, but it really just a reflection of us, right? Trump's just holding the mirror up. I hate to say that. And maybe they all were kind of doing that. We just didn't look in.
At what point though, do you blame the media for a lot of that though?
I blame it all on media.
I blame the media, but I also blame a weak public, a weak fortitude within society. Because yes, without a doubt, we're being inundated. We're still making a decision to ingest it all.
Depends on what you believe to be reality, though.
Like, what do you mean?
So, for example, the media. There's so many people that, and I don't watch the news anymore. I just don't.
Yeah,
because both sides have their own agenda.
It's not news anymore. It's
they're all
a megaphone for both parties.
For both parties,
right?
100%. And I'm exhausted with it. And so I see how. So here's a prime example of it, right? You have COVID. You turned on CNN or MSNBC, and they had a running death toll, a death toll on the side of the screen. And the moment the election was over, it's gone. So why? You're trying to using death to prove a point politically that one man is responsible for that number on that screen. So I just think of inherently, how is a human being, knowing that, how is a human being supposed to respond? To me, and this is just me, I know that I've tolerated more of it because, again, I vote economically.
Yeah,
I have people that vote
for sure.
And I think that it goes
for sure
undisputed. the economy prior to COVID was thriving on all cylinders. Things were really good, but
the numbers don't lie.
They don't, and so I think that, you get into this COVID era and, and this isn't just COVID. I understand there was an element of it in 15, going to the primaries, 16, all throughout. I'm just a big, I don't not blame him for some of the things that he said, but in the same breath, I think that blame should be dispersed and distributed across multiple arms.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not after blame. I'm after trying to understand.
A lot of people were angry though. Like a lot of people felt like I remember there's a forgotten man in this country and women.
Of course.
And they felt like he was speaking to them. Yeah. People that have felt like they were left out.
Sure.
People that felt like, the top 1% was, no, I'm not one of those people, but there were people that felt like, like our jobs are being shipped overseas.
Yeah. He resonated with those folks for sure.
He did. Like in central Pennsylvania.
And they're still out there. Those folks are still out there.
More than we believe.
Yeah. And again, but I'm not finding blame, or it really isn't even about, you could really stick anybody else in besides Trump. He just acted so differently. He conducted himself so differently.
Very raw.
Raw is a great word to use it. I mean, and if you like him, then it's raw. If you hate him, then he's an asshole. but that's okay. That's totally okay. I'm just looking at I am looking at the way we reacted to him. And in reality, from my limited viewpoint, it was just the fact that Trump was a reflection of all of us. I don't give a shit what your political party is. There's a little bit of Trump in every one of us. And I think that makes a good portion of our society uncomfortable.
So do you think that's what made him? Do you think that same tone and that personality is what made him? Well, maybe you don't think that he was a good president, but do you think that same tone?
I can't qualify that. I mean, if I look at the policies, I can absolutely say that his era there was damn good for the country in a lot of ways.
Right,
a lot of ways,
right? Like
in a lot of ways. Is he a good president? It really ain't for me to say. I hate the way he maneuvers in society. I think he's looking for a fight constantly.
It's a New York street mentality.
Yeah, which I think at times, and there were some things that he did, like individual points of not wording things correctly or really being unapologetic when he really fucked up, when he really just said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it to sound that way. He could have saved, right. He did. Yeah. And so that I don't think served him well, but whether he's good or bad is kind of irrelevant. I look at what times we're living in, and by those same standards, what's come after him has been absolutely horrid from a quality of life standpoint. Now, you can sit and argue that Biden's a kinder gentleman. I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm just saying that Trump was a reflection of us, and we were either too egotistical or too ashamed to admit it. He just held the mirror up, and it is fascinating that a portion of society is choosing to push back on that he's not a reflection of us. And in reality, as far as I can see, he's absolutely a reflection of what's going on in society.
Well, I think elections that's how elections always are, though, right? Like we're the majority that votes for somebody. That's a reflection of the majority, right?
Do you think, though? I mean, like it really was really apparent.
I think when Obama won, the country as a whole was in a position where, you know what, we just invaded Iraq, we're in Afghanistan, there's bloodshed, the housing market just collapsed, the economy was doing bad. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what, I'm done with these politicians, these career politicians. I'm done with the Bushes. We need a change, and that's what he ran on. And I think that fantastic orator, he was able to speak like no other, and I think he struck a chord and related to people, and
he looked different.
Trump, everything. Trump did the same thing though, but it's like you go through those 8 years and people were still upset and wanted that change because it's like, wait a second, we didn't really get that change. If anything, there was more divisiveness, whether the media wanted to acknowledge it or not. There was a ton of divisiveness over those 8 years, like racial divisiveness. There was a lot, you talk about gun violence, there was a lot of issues over those years to where, like, I think that people were like, you know what, we still don't have that change. Now we're going to go with a true outsider, somebody that has the balls to stand up to the swamp and into DC and these career politicians that, quite frankly, have have their own interests ahead of ours. So, I think it takes a certain type of person to do that. And so, I think that the majority of the country, at least in that time period, definitely were that he was definitely holding the mirror without question. Which is, but I think Obama was doing the same thing too.
Mm-hmm. It's a good argument. Hey, so when you talk about change, like, you know, you're saying that the country comes up with these swaths, the period of time, and they're ready for a new change. What about the argument now that change in society is happening so fast that, I mean, we say we want change, we can't even define that fucking change because we don't like where we are, but we never like where we are. Things aren't going our way.
That's true.
But they're never going our way,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
I mean, there was a time where I had a moment of clarity because I had a great friend who really saw things well. And I want to say it was 97. It was right before Clinton had his problem in 98 or 99. Right before he had his problem. And Jim Stewart, he looked at me over coffee. He said, you know, we're living in some pretty amazing times. You know, we had a little skirmish there in early 90s with, Bosnia. But for the most part, you know, we're curing some diseases. This internet thing is unbelievable. It's helping colleges grow. I can see some business applications going to come our way. And interest rates are under control. And if there's no inflation, I think if inflation was like 0.001, it was ridiculous. He could identify there was all these amazing things happening and really no strife. You know, and I remember having coffee going, I think this guy's on to something. And then a couple of years later, 9/11. But it was literally, I have not felt that level of peace in society and being excited. You know, maybe it was a time of my life or the internet was young and I was getting ready to start a business, whatever it was. I could take an assessment of society and go, things are pretty fucking good right now. Yeah. And I couldn't point to just one thing. There were multiple indicators that things are pretty good.
Yeah.
I can't say that today. And the change is coming so fast on us all the time that I wonder if the average person can, they say they want change in politics. Okay, do you really even know what that means? Because you're not going to know what's going to happen next month. There's going to be so much more shit piled on you now. You're not going to know what change looks like. Every day is constant change now. Right?
Yeah. It's almost like a quantum decision. It's like, okay, I want this to change, but you move like the Rubik's Cube one way, and it's
Good
like,
way
okay,
to put it.
9 more things come up. It's almost like a
Do you
hydra.
feel that way?
Yeah.
I mean, you always seem like the way you're wired is you're kind of just very even keeled. Do you ever get like out of sorts? Like, I mean, you're out in the entertainment business. So you're in the happy part of the human experience generally. You're catering to that, right? So when there's a world issue, the entertainers, we look to them. Music, film, comedy, right? What's the feeling out there now? Like, I mean, we're back from COVID. I would hope people are happy to be touring, right? I mean,
it's a different touring world because of COVID. I mean, we're still under, restraints and lockdown on our end of it because the show's got to go on, so we've got to keep ourselves safe. But I mean, right now, what we got to worry about is, where's this war going to go? How deep are we going to get into that stuff? There's a lot of things that come up. But if you ever have a crisis, if you ever have a problem, the first person to come into these things are the entertainers. Mm-hmm. And to bail us out, to distract us from whatever's going on, or to raise money for a charity or whatever.
And now we're trying to cancel some of those.
And I was just going to say that. I said, but you turn around. And I said, but if you say the wrong thing at the wrong time, you're gone. So no matter what you do in this business, I'm even killed. I think, man, believe what you want to believe, live a good life, be good to other people, and that's it. And if you're not good to me, then fuck off, and I don't need to deal with you. But I'm in a position where I can do that. I just let things go. I look at politicians and the ultimate conspiracy theorist, those cats they're just a mouthpiece, for what's really going on, and man, I don't know what the rest of the year is going to bring. I don't know what, I don't like me. I don't like where we're going, but I kind of just go through it. I vote. I do my part.
Do you think there's something seismic out there, all of you? Do you think there's something seismic coming that could maybe reset, realign, make us be a little more humble, make us go back to, I mean, for me, I think it's got to be purely economics. I think we go into a heavy recession where employment is scarce. There's a scarcity of employment. I think you're going to see a lot of people devaluing materialism. And I say that, but then subsequently, when I kind of hinted on other shows of that, I would have other guests of a younger demographic tell me, "Well, you're just not seeing it. Like young people don't care about stuff. They don't care about things. They don't care. They're not impressed with fancy watches and fancy clothes." So I don't know. I hear everything. Like something shows me they do like materialism, but I have a group telling me that they don't like materialism.
They do.
So I don't know.
The only thing that's going to unite us as a culture is a huge tragedy, and I hate to say that. Because wasn't
9/11 a huge tragedy?
It was.
That's what changed us.
That's what changed us.
That's what changed us. We had
that unity
everyone
after
was happy.
9/11.
Yep.
Everybody was proud to be American. Everyone had a flag
for about
out
a year.
for about a year. Pandemic, everyone was divided on that. So that tragedy didn't help. But I felt a sense of community after 9/11.
I did too.
So to bring us now, everyone's fighting everyone. If I don't know you, we're already enemies before I even know what you think.
Yep.
But
It's crazy.
It's like a common enemy is what brings a friend of. What is it? A friend of my enemy is my friend.
Yes.
See, I don't live myself.
I wonder how the response would have been, though. And I agree with you, but I wonder how the response to 9/11 would have been if social media was around the way
It's
that
a
it is
great
now.
question.
Oh.
I
There's
fear for
always another way. The way that you found out what was going on, you had to turn your TV on. Now you just go through and it's like, oh, somebody could make up
There were
total
five-
horse shit, and
there were
you're
5
just,
channels.
it gets So like now, I don't know that. I was so young. I was in 5th grade. I still remember though.
Oh, it's terrifying.
It was-
The quote was, "An enemy of my enemy is my friend." I said the quote wrong, but anyway.
Right, but now
Yeah.
people are very much there's I tend to go down a conspiracy theorist rabbit hole
Me
at
too.
times too, and it's like now you sit there, and a lot of people have because of social media. You go on TikTok and it's like the dark web.
Oh
You sit
god,
there,
yeah.
that's
oh my
time
gosh.
travel.
There was bombs in the World Trade. I mean, now like you sit there and you think of like we're just a divided culture, which I think is
it
in a
sucks.
sense is healthy though.
You think?
Do you think we're really divided in terms of like big groups, or do you think we're so divided that we all like here's a puzzling thing. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. I'll leave Fred out of it. I've asked Fred this question so many times. I love getting people's opinions. The great thing about American society that I have found, and I found it through commerce, I got into the guitar business and realized, if I make custom pieces, unique 1 of 1, 5 of 5, 30 of 30, American public just sucks that shit up. They love the uniqueness. They love to feel special. They want to have something for bragging rights. They want to show that they have something no one else can have. They like uniqueness. They like custom, right? I didn't realize how right I was. Because now we have these little egos that we want to show every little fucking thing that we have, that we can do, that we purchase, that we're involved with, that someone else might not have, and then make them feel fucking bad about it. Now there's an emotional component to it about making somebody else feel a certain way. I don't think it was like that 30 years ago, 20 years ago. But now it is. So my question to you is, now that I set that up, we say we want all this uniqueness. We want to have our own thoughts. We want our own independence. We want to look a certain way and have our own style. We want to do this. But yet we're so fucking easy to join groups. To join into the
You want to be
group,
part of
the
a winning
group thing.
team.
Yeah.
But that doesn't align. To me, it doesn't align. We're so independent and unique, and look at me and all this bullshit, yet we're so easy just to give our allegiance to this one or that one, right?
Because they're being.
It's nuts.
That's why
to
they're
me.
called influencers.
It's nuts to me.
I don't know that they actually strive to be unique by doing that though. Like I think they're still striving to be part of a certain sector of society that they deem to be up here. They're only posting those things. Like, for example, you go out and, buy a G-Wagon, right? That you can't really afford, or you're renting it. Well, guess what? I mean, I know
Don't go
people
do that, Anna.
Yeah.
What?
Don't go do that. Wait a while.
Oh no, you can get a write off. It weighs 6,000 pounds.
Was that 701 or whatever?
Yeah.
703.
But they'll do that. They'll do that not because it makes them feel unique in a sense, but it makes them feel like they're part of the group of society that is doing well, that's successful. the perception of what that looks like in social media. I don't know that it's.
You don't think we have a craving to be unique and to be heard, and
some people don't like the attention. Some people are shy.
But I guess, yeah, I still think that people. There's some. I think that that's a rarity. I really do. I think the people that want to be, because they're still trying to align with a certain part of society. If society didn't say, oh, well, you know what, you have that G-Wagon, that means that you're successful. They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it because they think it looks cool. No, they're not doing it because, oh, you know what, I like the shape, I like what it. No, it's because society says that if you stand next to that G-Wagon, that you look like you're successful, and that you're part of that group of successful.
And now you're
people.
Better because success or money makes you better for some reason.
Yeah,
they equate success to money a lot, or wisdom to money.
That's all.
It's not true.
I think that's always been the case. I just. We want all this individual freedom. This like that we want we want to have social media accounts so we can say and do our thing and post our thing and do our thing. But yet we're so quick to just can't I like to maneuver. Maybe I'm skewed because I don't think like that.
I was going to say your show is different than the norm, right? There's a lot of other people that are mimicking predecessor people other people that are doing it. So an influencer on YouTube or on Instagram, they're just doing what other people are already doing. What you're doing is you're not taking ads. I've looked at a lot of your stuff. So what you're doing is different than the norm. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But that's different than, quite frankly, truthfully, what we're trying to build with ours. Sure. I'm not opposed to taking sponsors.
Right. You hear that? He's not opposed to taking sponsors. Give him some money.
Sponsor us.
Cashed in.
So it's just a little bit different in terms of, how people are. But I mean,
you don't think we crave individuality? You don't think we crave individual? I mean, generally speaking, we don't think humans crave individuality.
I think my generation does a little bit less.
Okay.
Being unique. I think that there's this drive to
fit in.
To fit in.
I don't find joy out of joining a team. I root for a baseball team, the A's. I like them. I like some commonality in sports and things, but I don't find myself compelled to join a thinking, philosophical group of people. Sorry, but
no.
But I think that, so you're saying that you don't see a great desire for individuality out there that I see.
People act like
they'll dye their hair, they'll shave their head. I don't
yeah,
know.
but
they join a political party. They'll be quick to
Oh no,
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's why I think that. Look, you have COVID. You had everything about it, COVID, the vaccine, everything was one way or another. You're just joining sides. That's what I mean by we're in such a divided society. Yeah. And I'm not saying that it wasn't always like that, but it's now it's visible. It's accessible. It is. I just mentioned earlier, there's pressure to do certain things. There's to be on one side or another. Which side are you on? Because if you're not on my side, I'm going to alienate you.
Yep. Bingo.
You're going to hate
so in grade,
for no reason.
In grade school, you learned some things. You learned how to think. You had your lessons in first and second and third grade, and you learned how to reason and understand why people do things they do and what would be best for you and not good for you. You go on the playground. You'd have to mediate some of your own problems when the bully picked on you, or you saw some kid get picked on, or you didn't get picked for the team, or maybe you did get picked for the team. You had to find a way to maneuver in there. And childhood can be harsh for some, right? Not everybody is included, unfortunately. But generally speaking, you had to learn how to critically think at its most elemental form. We learned this bullshit in grade school. This is my opinion. But now, critical thought on just even remedial adult shit doesn't exist. You have to be we're dealing in absolutes. You're either here or you're over here. You can't have thoughts from both sides. It's not Michael and I can sit down and talk out this very complex issue and pull the pros and cons and see where he's strong and I'm strong and I'm weak and he's weak, and then come to a consensus that, yeah, we're going to make a unified statement here. We really don't agree, but we have common ground on these 4 things. Now we're moving on. Mm-hmm. That was the way we used to maneuver in society. Yep, sure. I'm not kidding you. You would see a politician once in a while in the news, or every year you would see a local person running for city council would come to your door and bang on your door and annoy you when you're trying to eat cereal. But ultimately, that's the only time you saw what politics would really enter your life, right? now we're living by the political identities that we put on our chest, which
That
is
is the worst.
fucking
Yeah.
crazy.
Listen,
I
if
hate
posted
I refuse to
something-
do that.
If I posted something before, during the elections, I used to post all the time. Like before I went, we'll probably lose followers because of my comments.
Right.
But, the thing is that, to that point, if you posted something back then, I had people that I've known for, I'm 32 years, all my life almost, sit there and go, you know what? I don't agree with you. I don't agree with what you just said, so I'm going to unfollow you. I don't want to see any of your shit anymore. I'm going to unfriend you. And it's insane because I would never
It
do
is
that.
crazy.
Because I do respect, I guess I'm going back on what I just said. I respect, that individual person's right and ability to, have their own individual thought.
Yeah, it's wild. It's like during the Trump era, and then even like as recent as the Roe v. Wade thing that came up, I saw people posting on both sides, and I have a definitive opinion, but I didn't unfollow somebody because I didn't agree with what they said.
Because that's because you're a rational thinking
Yeah.
human being, which is a
This isn't
skill
even- I'm
you
looking at my
learned
phone. This
as
isn't even
a
real.
child.
Yeah.
We don't do that
Yeah.
anymore. We haven't done it for many years, and it's almost like every maneuver in life that you encounter could be a litmus test that someone is judging you for.
Yeah.
They could change their whole dimension about how you're viewed.
Here's my
Crazy.
Thing. Here's my thing on this. I don't care. I don't fucking care.
Fred, can I just be you? Can you bottle whatever you have going on?
I really don't. Well,
Just give it to me.
This comes from years of experience. I don't care. Maybe at one time I did, but
Age will do that to
well,
you.
the thing is, no, I've always been like it, even when I was young. And I
For
remember,
me, it did.
the thing is either you like me or you hate me. I'm going to still be me tomorrow, and that's what the problem is. I don't think a lot of
Authenticity,
these
baby.
people don't want to be themselves. They want to be part of the team, the winning team, and it's one extreme. My way is, if you disagree with my way, then I don't need to deal with you. And people have lost the idea of, again, people think. What
about moderation? The concept of moderation.
There is no moderation.
We don't live on the extremes of life. I mean, no one actually can live on the total extreme of life in every issue. You couldn't function. You'd be dead.
Yeah.
But we ignore compromised thought. It's almost like
there is no
it's almost
compromise.
like a weakness.
Yep.
If you're a moderate, then you're wishy-washy. You're a fence. If you're a moderate, you've been labeled forever like a fence dweller. Whatever. A moderate's not a fence dweller. A moderate is a person practicing indifference, or a moderate is someone who's taken issues, dissected them, and found in there little tenets that work for them and tenets that don't, and they're making rational decisions, or they're just undecided because it's a complex issue. And there's nothing and those folks, I hate to say this, it's not talked about a lot in society, but those are the folks that are running the world.
Yeah.
You're icons of industry. You're icons of any industry. You're icons of anything capitalist in this country. At the very top are pragmatic thinking people that try not to get pigeonholed and labeled one philosophical bent or another, because they have worked their way to that point by creating things and maneuvering and finding a way to take things to market, that it takes a certain kind of person, a thinking person at a bare minimum, to get there. So the moderate thinkers are running the world, and the whack jobs on the extremes, the unwashed masses, are just creating a lot of noise within the world that the moderates created. Now, maybe I'm all full of shit, but that's kind of how I see 2022. Moderate, man. Moderate is not a dirty word.
No. I like moderate.
Call it whatever you want. Call it the middle.
You have to govern from the middle. That's because most people are.
The middle always wins.
It should.
Yeah.
I mean, there's little moments where like one side will get a little advantage and something crazy will happen.
It's give take.
But in the end,
it has to be.
Well, isn't that the nature of?
But people don't want to give.
People don't want to give. People don't want to give up. People want what they want.
Because are they afraid of the consequences of that? Are they
Well, no, like to
unnecessarily
what he's
afraid?
everybody wants to be on the winning side, so they feel like, oh, well, you know what, I'm not willing to give this in order to
Yet
get this.
we teach our kids that there can't be winners. We can't keep score. We don't want anybody's feelings hurt. But you really want to be on the winning side. Like, what is it?
But
to me, it's a
how you have to think is there's winners, there's losers, and sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose.
Yes.
But nobody teaches that anymore. It's, man, if you're not first,
You're last.
you're last.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ricky Bobby.
Ricky Bobby. But I think that quote is actually like one of the funniest things because
See,
it's showing what people think.
I don't. So
It's so true. If you're not, because I felt that just in like a career, like if I'm not the like number one, then I am a failure, and it's overwhelming.
And you know what's sad about what you just said? And I wanted to ask this question earlier. You just hit it. Where I love my practice as being a realtor is it fits me perfectly because I don't have a competitive bone in my body for business. I ran a guitar business, found my unique niche and ran with it, never paid attention to competition. And I live my life that way. In real estate, why I only do good in brokerages where they leave me the fuck alone is because I don't care what anyone else is earning or doing. It's nothing I want to partake in. So you're in an industry that gives you the opportunity to just compete with yourself and worry about your own goals. But yet you see how that competitive nature can reach out and fuck with you when you ingest what other people are doing. It's insane. The magazines come. So-and-so's the sales leader.
I was just going to bring that up. I don't play into that game anymore because it was getting too much for my
what does it do for
headspace.
you? Is it bragging rights to who?
To
bragging
in
about
our
the
industry,
realtors doesn't help me any.
Yeah, they don't care. All
You know,
it is
like-
for the brokerage. It benefits the brokerage. So I quit playing into that. The magazine, we all know what it is.
Uh-huh.
We all know
It's a marketing
the
piece.
the awards, the cheesy awards. I just don't even subscribe to that anymore.
Yeah, and that doesn't make me a better realtor for it because I'm an average realtor who treats people great.
Yeah.
I'm an average production realtor who treats people great. That's who I am. And I'm okay with that. Now, if I was younger, 20 years later, Fred always says, if you were younger, you'd be you'd be a pit bull realtor. Maybe, but maybe it's because I'm old and I don't have the energy anymore. I don't know. But the competition doesn't serve me well emotionally. It never has.
Yeah.
So I admire it in sports, and I admire it in business when it works for those organizations. It's just not for me. But in real estate, it gives you the opportunity not to partake in that stuff. Yet so many agents,
I had to unfollow agents.
they rush to it.
Yeah.
It's like it's a human thing. They rush to
They
it.
make up an award for
I'm
everything.
not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's interesting to me that they.
Most miles driven. Number one.
It's
Like
just
a status
stupid
thing.
shit.
So
Yeah.
I guess
Could be.
I always viewed it as
Could be.
Maybe I don't know if this is exactly where you guys are going. There's realtors that are out there that are very showy with it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, just like I did X amount of dollars, and they frame it a certain way that doesn't even like I'm a multi-million-dollar producer. Everyone
Yeah,
is.
it's not always
after
apples
your
to
first 8 months. I'm like, you're a multi-million-dollar producer.
Like everyone is.
Yeah, right.
It's on everyone's signature on their email.
Yeah.
Multi-million-dollar producer. Oh, you got that in your second year. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like I want to hear your take on it. What are you saying?
So I think that there are realtors that are out there, and it's not just, it depends on the line of work that you're in, where I think that it's kind of acceptable to put yourself out there in a way. Because to the average person, they're going to sit there and see, oh, wow, that guy's driving what? He was here, he travels here. And they're going to think that, okay, well, he must do really well. He must be really good at what he
sure.
does. So therefore,
It's an
I'm gonna
image.
do him.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side of it, like with what I do, if I sit there and I do that, people aren't going to want to, they're not going to want to do business with me because they're going to think that he doesn't need this because of that. So it's interesting. Like attorneys, the same way. It's like, you know what? If they're this, then they must be really, really good. They do really well. That means a lot of people are using them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's where you guys were going with it. But
No, I get all of that, and I agree with you. And there is a time and a place to show success. I like a nice watch. I like a nice pair of shoes occasionally. I like a nice suit once in a while. I get it. What I'm getting at it, and I like what it does for me in a sphere. For certain clients. I have found through my life, and maybe it's different for other people, but if I'm a fraud, I'm going to attract clients who are personally frauds as well too. And I'm really about the human experience in regards to the quality of the individual I work with. You don't always get to work with fantastic people, but I generally want to attract people that I feel comfortable being around. But your point is well taken. It's like some of those things, those acquisitions and the way they're used is almost like trinkets of a sales presentation in a way. Mm-hmm. I get it. I get it. I'm not knocking anybody for it, but I have to laugh. I will laugh because a lot of it's so fraudulently stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's
funny.
like junk food
It's funny.
advertising.
But what I was getting at was more about the headspace. Like, we're given the opportunity in this business to not partake in this crazy competition stuff. Forget the advertising. Just for our own, like, worried that some other agent's going to get ahead of me, and whatever that means.
It made me sick sometimes.
But-
It was bad.
But yeah,
For my mental.
but I see great agents like fighting with this competition thing, and no matter where I've gone, all the brokers do the same fucking thing. The leaderboard and whatever,
Oh.
and like I got Howard Hanna sent me awards. Remax sent me awards. I don't think Cal never gave me an award, but I would laugh because I have no place to put them, nor would I think about putting them on because they don't intrinsically mean anything to me.
Same.
If it meant something to me, I'd hang it. But
Yeah.
it doesn't mean anything to me because I really don't want to have that stress of worried about what Danger's doing over here and what the realtor Jenny's doing over here. I'm happy for
That makes
them.
me sick.
And it's a different way of looking at it. But I don't think a lot of realtors, regardless of age demographics, think that way. I think they buy into the competition. And what a fucked up way to live. My headspace won't allow it. I
It just
couldn't do
benefits
it.
the broker.
I
It
couldn't
doesn't
do it.
benefit
I was
the
just gonna
agent.
say it just benefits the brokerage.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
just give me
that's
my
all.
paycheck. I'm
Right.
out.
Well, competition for you. I mean, like,
It's cutthroat.
yeah, really?
That's
I would
serious.
never know because you never talk about it.
That's just how I mean, dude, you go in there and it's like that anywhere. It's like,
For the good jobs, you mean?
well, yeah, for the good jobs, because somebody will always come in, and this is the big thing now. People are undercutting people. Thousands of dollars. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Look, what somebody used to do for $25 a week. You get this guy in there for $12.50,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, management's going to give them the job. So you get the cats that are good that are sitting around going, "Well, you know what? I just got axed." But those cats always seem to find
Work elsewhere, yeah.
work elsewhere for their rate. But I mean, in this industry, yeah, man, it's cutthroat. Somebody always got something to say. Somebody's always got, their way is better. It just, I think that's why.
Do you spend any time thinking about that shit?
No.
I mean, did you when you were younger in the
Nope.
career? You never bothered you.
Here's the thing with me, man, and I'm not being a dick saying this. I just never cared about being.
Yeah.
If I ended up being number one, then I was, by luck. But hey, man, you ran a good race, you'll get me next
You
time.
are kind of like Mr. Zen.
But that's
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah,
it.
like, kind of like,
But that's exactly, and that's where I found my success, and I found that at a young age like that, is I never wanted what somebody else had. And I was always happy for you if you got that, and I never said, hey, that's what I want. There was things that I said, yeah, that's what I want to aspire to be. But that was me pushing myself, not me tearing you down to come down to me. It was me trying to better myself to get up that mountain. And that's what I think you don't see in too many places.
That's kind of Michael said. That's how you're wired that way too.
People try to bring you down instead of you trying to drag people up. And I spent my whole life trying to drag people up. And a lot of times they brought me down. But then you just have to go on yourself. And that's what I do, man. I mean,
It brought you down because those people that you were bringing up.
yeah, the weight
ended
of
up
them.
bringing you, the weight of yeah.
Oh, I always tell the silly story, man, about this is why I don't do Facebook. And literally, man, I didn't.
He's not on Facebook.
I didn't want
That's
any sort.
crazy.
I'm on Facebook. I did it to join a golf game, which gave you free bonuses every day, and that's the other. But I have like 3,000 friend requests from people that I don't even know. Some I do, some I don't. But I have one friend, and it's my mom, because you have to do your mom. But I just joined it to get free golf shit on this game that I played at the time. And but the thing is, I go on there and I get all these idiots, and I don't want to say idiots, but I get all these
It's 2022, Fred.
crazy requests
I'm offended.
for, hey man, can you send me a guitar for charity? That was the big thing.
I remember that.
It's like everybody's got a charity, everybody's got this, everybody's got that. But, I'm not in a position where I can just go, hey, but I had people that would like ask me, for Star's autographs. Star's this, can you have him, can you get him to do this benefit? No, man, I'm just some dude from, I call his management. I can't do that. But when you don't do it on Facebook,
You're an asshole.
you're an asshole. you're a dick. You know, but the one thing is I didn't accept, and I always laugh at this, is I was walking into my local gas station grocery store. I live in a real small town, no stuff. And I walk in there, and somebody I went to high school with was there. And it's like, oh, Mr. Rockstar, can't accept my Facebook invitation. And I'm like, yeah, hey, how's it going, man? I haven't seen you for, oh, really? You want to talk to me? And it's just like, well, look, man, I don't. And then you try to explain I don't have Facebook, but then they see you have Facebook,
win, man.
And it's look. Also, I do. My mom's my only friend. You're an asshole. You know,
that's kind of that's real life for you.
but it is, you know. But the thing is, you know, I never wanted to. I never wanted to impress anybody. I never wanted to you know, and if that's. You know, I never wanted to influence anybody. It's nice to say, hey man, your pictures are great. Your photos are great. Great accomplishment on your job, or your podcast was awesome, you know. But that's what I want to leave it at. I don't care if what I care about is doing a good job and making people happy. And I try to give everybody this.
I've known you long enough to know that's the
I want you to have the same, you know, when we go to a show, you know, I'm not bragging that this is where I'm at, but hey, man, let me show you this stuff. You know, and I just want everybody to enjoy themselves and live their own life, think for themselves. You know, you can like me, you can hate me. You know, if you hate me, too bad for you. If you like me, that's great. You know, we'll have more adventures together. But you know, I really don't buy into hating people for no reason because they're on that political side, you know, or I'm on mine. But man, that's just crazy that's how it comes down to. And like I always say, it's the everybody gets a participation ribbon, you know, trophy. And that's what happened, man. And you know, nobody's out for the other guy. Everybody's out for themselves.
Yeah, that's just that. No one's leading with kindness.
And real estate is a cutthroat business, you know. And I mean, I'm not in it, but it's a shame because everybody right now, instead of learning to play the team, you're played the, hey man, what can you get? This is all about you. And it's not a
well, this industry that we're in breeds that. Right?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
and it's like that in mine too, because again. Now it's a limited amount of jobs. We don't have a lot of jobs.
Right.
And if you want that top job, you're going to scratch, steal, cut down the other guy and you know, slander him or whatever you got to do to get in that position because that's a enviable position to be in. And that's just me.
Yeah, but I'm telling you now, but I circle back before, scarcity of employment's coming.
Oh, yeah, it will be.
It's a matter of time. I mean, the job market's good now, right? You go out right now and go, if you have a job, you can go work at Home Depot tomorrow.
Yep.
Or Costco tomorrow for $22 an hour. You can find a job. What happens when that dries up?
People don't want to do it.
I think they're miserable and angry now. I mean,
yeah. Wait till you don't have a job.
Oh my goodness, that's scary. Food shortages, baby formula shortages.
I wanted to end this on like a positive note.
Sorry. Life is beautiful. Follow your dreams.
I leave
you
this
can
week.
do it.
There's a positive note.
It's my dream gig.
Friends, I appreciate you doing this. You have a good time?
Great time.
It's great.
Thanks for having us on.
Do it again?
Hell yeah.
For sure?
Yeah.
This went out really well. See, Fred, I always have a plan.
You always have.
See, Fred?
Yeah, see, Fred? All right, friends. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you.
All right. We're out.